Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Wednesday night. That's what it is tonight. Sorry, I don't know if my volume was on.
You sound weird.
Do I?
Yeah, Joe, it's not just me, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Check everything. I don't know why it sounds weird.
It sounds like you're got a pillow in front of your face.
Nope.
Hey, we don't kink shame.
We don't think so. Whatever. We're gonna go with it. As long as you can understand me, I don't care. Nobody listens to what I have to say anyway. Mark Order Podcast. You're on the Tiny Wizard Network. And a wonderful Wednesday. Joined right now by Ryan Schlong.
Hello, everyone.
Everything on my end is fine.
You're getting better.
It's probably the audio. Everything on my end is fine.
You're
much better.
okay again.
It's the audio. I don't know what it is. I've changed nothing with this setup. I've changed nothing with the rig. I'm playing the video, the audio tonight the old way because I listened back on the YouTube and the other way it sucked. So I have no idea. But
The other way didn't always suck. It only sucked when your internet or whatever would cut out for some reason.
well, nothing's cutting out. I'm full bore. Everything's going fine. Who cares? Ryan's here. Asian Joe is here. I'm assuming we're going to be joined by somebody else soon as well. So
Hollywood says she'll be here. We'll see.
we're getting big timed. It's always how it is. Oh, I've got this. I've got that. Whatever. How's it going, guys? Ryan's getting fingered, as Joe said in the pre-show.
I thought I was going to be clever and give everyone a virtual background of someone being fired. See? And then, by pure happenstance, it lines up that when I put my head in the way, there's a finger in my ear, and that's even better.
Can you play with your fader again? Because at one point, just your head was showing up. It was perfect.
It's tough.
Oh, he had it working there.
Almost.
Just saw the same thing, right? Oh, that was even worse. It was like Ghost Ryan Schlong. I don't know. It doesn't work, but it's
You tried.
Hello.
I don't know if it's worse not being able to see you, or there were a few times where didn't you just put a frozen picture of yourself in place?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this. I'm gonna
Me neither at all.
just say it. I don't like it. This is that was creepy.
That might be even in me. I stopped that.
I'm gonna have horrible dreams of that tonight. Horrible dreams. So what's good, everybody?
Not much.
Living that life.
Thank goodness there's Dynamite tonight, because otherwise I don't know if I knew what day it was after the Labor Day holiday.
The Labor Day holiday did throw things off, right? This is sort of felt like a weird week.
It's a good week.
Has it been a good week? Did you do anything fun for the holiday, Ryan? You don't get out much.
No, I just like a day off from work.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed your day off of work.
What did you do for your holiday? Did you barbecue? Did you have the boy at a pool?
No pool, no barbecue, but we did go out and do some stuff, like little stuff. Went to the mall. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
And Joe?
I had some fancy football drafts, and then had a little barbecue at a friend's house where we hosted the draft. And I bought a washer and dryer because I'm like old, and that's what we do.
Listen, a washer and dryer is key, especially like. So, Joe, did you have ones before and you just needed a new set?
I did. So I had usually bought pre-owned sets before, and the one I bought was 7 or so years ago, plus however many years it was before that, and it got to the point where it kept leaking in the front there, like almost like a drain pump issue. And I'm like, not a big deal. I'll buy a mop. So I sat there and mop a little bit, and then whatever. But in the last couple of weeks, it became like monsoon levels of water coming out of it.
Yeah.
So it became problematic, and I figured I didn't want to pay the money to repair it because it would cost more than what the machine was actually worth.
Yeah.
So I put my big boy pants on and decided to buy new appliances.
Now, Joe, this is what people tune in for. So I'm going to ask the tough questions. Did you buy it flat out or did you finance it?
Oh, I financed it.
Good man.
It was like 30-month no interest.
Yeah. Why not? Take it.
It's free money.
Free money. They're
They
giving
want you
it.
to buy it. Yeah.
That's right. Well, I mean, have you since done your laundry in the? Oh wait, has it been delivered yet?
It had. It was delivered Tuesday. So
Okay.
I haven't done a load of laundry yet. I did like a rinse cycle just to kind of clean it out and make sure there wasn't any residue. But
Sure.
and I have it all set up with my phone and all the apps and all that technology wizardry. So yeah, we're all set. Like this weekend, I'm
Shining
gonna
wizardry?
No. That's the
No,
beat. We
no.
don't talk about that here.
No. So yeah, this weekend will be doing laundry, and I will love it.
It is going to be so different than anything you're used to. Welcome to the new age.
What a time to be alive.
Seriously. See, now mine aren't that old. I don't have an app or anything for it. I wish I did, because then I'd remember, I put laundry in and it's done.
They give you way too much analytics on it. I don't need to know like average length of my wash cycle and all the other things. I don't need analytics and diagnostics. So you can just tell me when it's started and when it's done.
Schlong, would you be interested in the analytics of your laundry?
No, not at all. I don't need to know any of that.
It's weird because I feel like on one hand, I could see you being that person.
No.
Being like, poof, this average rinse cycle is way too long. I got to get it down.
So instead of money ball, it'd be like a laundry ball, right?
That's right.
I can fixate on something, but that's not one of them. I also don't want to know those details.
Well, congratulations, Joe. Best of luck, and I hope for nothing but the cleanest of drawers for you.
As do I. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well. Look
Hello.
who decides to show up.
Hello, and how are everyone's fathers today?
He's good, I guess.
I am entering every conversation like Christian at the media scrum of All In, or All Out, rather. I am obsessed with this version of Christian. It's the greatest.
So my dad's dead, so I'd be a perfect mark for Christian to cut a promo on.
Oh, boy.
Perfect.
Well,
I'm now the
Christian
Christian
loves
of this
you.
podcast. Going after Joe. What's up, fellers?
We're talking about laundry.
Oh, so
Riveting
mad I
stuff.
missed the top of the show.
But now that you're here, Kate, I do want to say congratulations to the Yankees.
Of being 69-69 for the first time since 1969. Nice!
Yep.
Not anymore. They just won. So short-lived. They should have just said, to hell with the rest of the season.
Oh, it's a rain now. Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, they're trying to make anything up.
Oh, no.
you can't have nice things. Apparently, I don't know.
No.
They never last. They never last.
Well, at least the baby bombers are doing okay until next year when they won't do okay, and then everybody will be like, "What a bunch of fucking idiots! Can't play baseball. They don't win." Yeah, because they're fucking children.
Get rid of Aaron Boone. That's the thing to me. Dear Lord.
I said it last year. I'm going to say it again this year. He's not going anywhere. Neither is Brian Cashman, so don't expect it to change.
Oh, it won't change, but neither will the circumstances.
Oh,
That's what
Hal
I'm
won't
saying.
do it. It admits failure. They won't do it.
They should be disgusted by their own inadequacy.
It's true. Speaking of failure, we should lead off tonight with the hottest news to hit wrestling in a long time. We talked about it last week. It was almost like they were listening in on our conversation.
Jungle Boy was indefinitely suspended.
That's right.
That is the big news coming out of Chicago. So
The only news. I think I didn't hear anything else.
No. No. CM Punk terminated by AEW. We got to start so again, before we move on, let's recap just how things are going to go tonight for everybody. We're not talking about Rampage, we're not talking about Collision. At this point, it doesn't fucking matter. We're going to talk about CM Punk situation. We're going to go talk about All Out, and then we're going to talk about Dynamite. We're moving on. But I do want to talk about CM Punk because it was really interesting how quickly the ball rolled this time. But it seems like they had everything they needed in this investigation right now to make.
Well, it turns out if you physically try to attack the man who has hiring and firing power, the decision to fire you gets to be really easy.
Well, having footage also, I think, is a big game changer because I think they sorry to just jump in on it, but I think what they wanted to do was to be able to fire him with cause, and they have.
Oh, you got it.
If you have, it's telling that what's on the video footage must be pretty damning because if they went to fire him with cause, I'm sure there'll be some sort of counter lawsuit. Punk would almost be an idiot not to countersue just on the off chance that he might win. But if they feel confident enough to fire him with cause, that indicates to me that there's video footage that's pretty alarming. So just really fucking sad, honestly, at this point.
I was going to say that is the rumor is that there were cameras everywhere and that apparently that's on tape, but
that will help expedite your investigation is all I'm saying.
Absolutely will.
That will move things along.
It will also certainly help the fact that you've apparently threatened the person, as Ryan stated, does all the hiring and the firing. And it also, I guess, will help when there are dozens and dozens of eyewitnesses to what happened as compared to the first time around when it was just a lot of hearsay because there were only the people involved really to know.
Because all the witnesses were involved.
Right. So this certainly made things easier, but it was, I was surprised how quickly it went, and also because we literally talked about it. We talked about it Wednesday, and then it was done days later. And I think it was funny that we were all in some sort of agreement that yes, there's nothing left to do. The best course of action is probably to go your separate ways by whatever means that's possible. But to anybody living under a rock, on the 2nd, the statement was put out by AEW that All Elite Wrestling has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Phillip Brooks, or CM Punk, and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, general manager, and head of creative of AEW. Termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW, all in London, on Sunday, August 27th. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee, which PS didn't know there was a discipline committee, but
I don't think they did either until this incident.
the discipline committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. Khan offered the following comment: Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news with which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nevertheless, I am making the decision in the best interests of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week, our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world. So again, that was the second. We're going to talk about just the ramifications of that being on the second briefly. But I guess, folks, and again, news came out after sort of this. Of course, all these rumors came out, right? Oh, Phil was trying to get released to go back to the WWE. The WWE wants him. They don't want him. There's no compete. There is a no compete. Who knows what Ace Steel's doing? He's probably just lucky he wasn't in the house that night, or he'd be out of his second job. But a lot of hearsay. But the bottom line is Phil's no longer with the company. Right move, wrong move? Is this good? What do we think? Kate, let's lead with you because you're not the biggest CM Punk fan.
No, he's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's the there's nothing else that you could do in a situation where somebody puts the opening of a pay-per-view, the largest crowd in history, at risk, and then forces you to fire him in your hometown with back-to-back events on a show that you're anchoring. Like, that's how bad it had to get for him to get fired. I think it's good that Tony Khan, this is kind of the first time he's looked like a true leader in the sense that it was something he had to do. Everybody else that's been released, right? You've had contracts that expired for talent they weren't going to keep around. Anybody else that got released was because of like sexual assault stuff that came out during speaking out or things like that. So for Tony Khan to like actually come out and make a statement, for him to say it was his decision, his alone, I think those things are important from the leadership aspect because it feels like we haven't had any of that. I feel like Tony Khan's biggest weakness was like the fact that the gripe bomb, the All Out press conference went on as long as it did. I feel like was like so much on Tony Khan that as soon as he started going off like that, like cut the mics and get the fuck out of there. Like, what are you doing letting this guy tear down your company? So like, I think it was really important for him to come out and look assertive. I thought it was weird that they addressed it on television the way they did. I thought it might have been smarter to just let the actions speak for themselves in front of a Chicago crowd, but a lot of people feel differently than I do in that regard, and that's cool. Like, I get it. I'm glad they used his real name and not his shoot name. Like, I think he was trying to make a sincere appeal. I think it's good that they did it before the pay-per-view too, because I think a lot of people would, even though they weren't, would say like that they got fleeced out of the deal, right? Like that they bought tickets to go there, that they bought tickets to see CM Punk. This came out a few hours before even Collision, never mind the pay-per-view. So it kind of let people make a more honest decision in that regard, which I think is good. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the right call. It was the only call that you could make. I think I think they tried to not make this call the first time around and it came back and bit them in the ass. So I would imagine you're just an absolutely miserable person if before you go out and wrestle your friend for decades in the most storied feud of your career that you helped build in front of 85,000 people, what's going through your head is, I hate this place. Like, that's not a well person. So it's just fucking sad that it came to this conclusion, and after coming back for being away from so long, so much of his time was spent angry and injured. Like it just sucks. But definitely the right call. And boy, oh boy, we'll talk about it. But then they pull a pay-per-view out of their ass because
we're gonna
in
get
addition
there.
to Punk, there was not a good build, and it was a hell of a pay-per-view.
So, and I want to be clear on this point too, because when we talked last week, in case anybody did not listen, you can go back and listen, but we'll give you a recap real quick. I think we all also were in agreement that there were other parties who were not innocent in everything, right? Jack Perry's fully at fault. You don't poke the bear on a fucking pay-per-view at the biggest show in the company, to get a reaction or not, or to go into business for yourself. Tony Khan's also at fault because he didn't put the right, sort of precautions in place to prevent this from happening again. I think Joe said it best. I'm going to give the credit to you, Joe, even if you didn't say this, but I think you said it's like punishing your kid and letting them play with their toys during punishment. You take the toys away from the kids, right? And they gave him a show as soon as he came back. Now,
as my Tuesday night co-host said, it would seem the punishment of giving him his own show didn't play out the way that they thought it would.
No, clearly not. But I think it was clearly something that Warner Brothers wanted, right? Yeah. So it's like, how are you going to tell them no when they're offering you probably a boatload of money? You say, sure thing. And we've got everything we need to make sure this doesn't happen again, even if you don't, right? But regardless, Joe, I'm going to ask you this question, and anybody else can chime in too, but Joe, I'll give it to you. Does this move help Tony Khan look like he's got a little bit of a backbone and that he's not going to stand for this shit out of anybody else?
Sort of. When it's forced your hand this much, I mean, if you didn't do something, you kind of lose a lot of credibility going forward, I believe, as far as operating your business and running the promotion. So, yeah, like it should have been, a lot of things should have happened sooner to hopefully prevent this to this point. But yeah, this was very force your hand. Things are happening around you or at you, so you have no choice other to fire the person, or you come across looking kind of like a
punk.
Inmates run, a punk. There you go. The inmates run the asylum type of thing.
I mean,
I think it's interesting Jack is still suspended. That's the other thing. Is like, I wonder what's going on with that, because I feel like Punk was an inevitability. I'm wondering if Jack Perry's suspension is Tony Khan also trying to stop the bleeding outside of Punk, like of, we're not doing this. We're not having backstage brawls. We're not whatever. Like even people that have good track records are going to have punishments for things like, and also, by the way, those are just the punishments that are made public. Like we don't know who got fined for what or whatever. Right. So other than Eddie Kingston. So, yeah.
Well, the other question that I have is, because I feel like I talked to a few people about it this week, is, like there are ways that Tony Khan can sort of can fix this moving forward, right? You would think it would be by putting somebody really, really strong in charge of talent relations, right? Now, is that Christopher Daniels right now?
Yes.
It is, right? Now, listen, I like Christopher Daniels as much as the next guy. Seems like a nice guy. He's been in the business a long time. Great. Clearly does not seem to be able to do all the things you'd need to do to sort of insulate the top guy at the company from having to deal with all this stuff. My question is, you have maybe one of the most respected people in the business there who did this for how many years with the WWE in JR? How can you not? And again, maybe they asked JR and JR said he didn't want to do it. But how can you not have somebody like JR? How can you not ask somebody perhaps like Tommy Dreamer, who a lot of talent really like. Now, I don't know about AEW, but seems pretty well respected by wrestlers. Seems to have gone up and down the road plenty of times with plenty of companies. Seems like he could probably do that job. I would even say somebody like, not, but like a Bully Ray, who's been with multiple companies, worked himself up. Just
Well, wasn't that Christopher Daniels though?
But Christopher Daniels doesn't have the same experience working for big companies that these other guys do.
I don't think you can have a peer like that who still is, part-time active wrestling, who still is, really close friends with a lot of these wrestlers, who isn't far enough removed from the locker room. I feel like you have to almost have as much of an objective third party as possible to be that role.
But somebody like a JR, from some of the things I've read or I've heard in interviews about JR, is that you knew you fucked up and he didn't have to say much in the WWE. He could say something at regular volume and you knew you fucked up. He would say something. I think it actually might have been, I might have had Busted Open on one day because there was nothing to listen to and I switched on Busted Open. And I think it might have even been Bully Ray saying, I knew I was in trouble, and all JR had to say was, it's going to cost you tonight. And that was it. You knew you were fucked. You were fined, and there's no way out of it. Like,
I would say my only thing with this is like, there seems like there's a few issues. Some of them are communication and administrative stuff, and some of them are disciplinary stuff as far as artist relations goes. It kind of feels like Punk's the problem here. Like, there's been other fights and there's been other bullshit backstage, but that all feels way more like regular wrestling bullshit than it did with Punk. Like, I'm sure way more of that goes on in WWE. We just don't hear about it as much. It doesn't leak as much because there's probably harsher consequences. So I agree there's probably somebody that needs to come in, but the idea that it needs to be like this intense enforcer, I feel like is maybe not the case. Like, I think we did not hear about the shit nearly as much. Like, yes, Eddie Kingston and Sammy got into a thing because there was like a miscommunication. Andrade, also a fucking hothead. Like, a phenomenal wrestler, but a hothead. I don't think there's anybody that's like left or that would be on the free agent market that would seem as problematic as Punk is. Like, nobody else. When did you ever hear about anybody having an issue with like the Bucks or Kenny Omega? Like, feels very specific to Punk to me. So probably some needs and administrative changes for sure. But like, I don't feel like there needs to, the feeling I get is that there doesn't need to be this like heavy-handed authoritarian figure backstage. There's someone that needs to carry the weight of consequences, like you said. But it feels like so much of this is literally just CM Punk. I think JR would be great, but like, he's 70 and I don't know if he carries the same stick that he kind of used to. I think there's a lot of respect for him, but yeah, I don't know who it is.
But that's so let me be clear. I don't think that you need somebody who's the heavy all the time, right? Like, you don't need somebody who's going to be a super authoritarian, you know, sort of figure like that. But I think you do need somebody who can be both respected and feared at the same time. And fear is good, right? Like, you need a little bit of fear to sort of stay in line and be sure that if you fuck up, you have to face the consequences. And truthfully, Tony Khan seems like too much of a fan to do that. He's, every time, you hear him talking about anything, he's like, I'm a huge fan. I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan for a long time. Dude, you have to get to the point where you're not a fan. You're their boss. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be a fan, but there's a difference between being somebody's boss and being a fan of them and just telling them what they want to hear all the time. And I just don't think that's the balance that he's found a way to strike yet, in which I think it's a good reason to find somebody who sort of can do both things, who is well respected, but can carry a little bit of fear. They don't need to walk around, the back like people are walking on eggshells all the time around them, but like, just somebody where hey, if you fuck up, you fuck up. Like, you knew you shouldn't have said that, and you're going to get fined for it. Or you knew you shouldn't have touched him. You're going to be suspended for 5 days. You're not going to get paid. Like,
Yeah, I'm with Joe that can't be an active wrestler. Like, I think it's ridiculous that there's EVPs that are. So I would say someone from a business world. Honestly, like someone that we don't know the name of to come in and run things like it's fucking HR and there's consequences for your actions. Like, I don't want to know that person's name. Boring.
So I've thought about
Mark
this.
Carano was who it was in WWE. You know what I mean? Who the fuck is that guy?
Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I've thought about this. Doesn't matter who you bring in, because if you're going to cut the knees right out from under them and send them home because CM Punk says it, you can't have a head of talent relation who has any authority, because no one's going to respect them. If one of your talent has literally the ability to go to the head boss and go, I want our head of talent relations to go home because I don't like him or I think the situation's unfair, no head of talent relations stands a chance in that company.
No, agreed.
So Kate tweeted it, so I'm going to give her credit, and she kind of said it again tonight, but you're the highest paid wrestler in the company. You have your own show. You're in the biggest pay-per-view of all time. You're about to go wrestle one of your longest friends, and you let such a small thing ruin it all. You have something mentally wrong. There's just something not clicking. I don't know what it is. I don't know him personally. I don't know him a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but from the outside, pretty obvious that most people don't let something that small get to them. But head of talent won't work if the next guy you bring in for high money gets to tell them what to do. However, these punishments do feel like Khan's attempt to get control. You fire Punk, which I know everyone, even we said, kind of like seemed logical, but it wasn't. I mean, it was, but it also wasn't. He's their highest paid wrestler. He's their biggest draw, their highest merch seller. There's not like it's a big deal that even for this he got let go, because that's a big decision that will shake people up whether they want to admit it or not. And I think the Jungle Boy's further thing, which is basically saying like, yeah, you may not have actually started the fight in the back, but if you guys are going to come out here and just start being dicks on TV towards each other, that's going to cause this, you're going to feel the pressure.
So just for clarity, though, Wrestling Observer said that spot was approved.
But him looking at the camera and saying it's real glass was approved?
Yes, I believe so. Now
I thought the glass was approved.
That doesn't take into account anything that also might have been said backstage, though. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine that line, a heel line said in heel character after losing the FTW, like on the way to losing the FTW belt, is something that has him still suspended post an investigation. So that reads to me like something happened backstage.
See, that reads to me like everything but the line was approved, and they were telling him just to let it go, and he still said something. That's how that reads to me.
Maybe. Let me see what.
Because I thought only the car and the glass were approved. I didn't think the actual line itself was.
Let's see what was said. Continue talking. I'll look it up.
No, it's fine. I mean, listen, I think it's a good thing because it does send a message, right? Your guy who you put in charge gets sent home for good. I think it does maybe straighten some people up and say, ooh, like nobody's safe, right?
Nobody's safe, but also kind of going to go back to what Kate was saying and piss off the Pro Wrestling Podcast in our chat. You didn't really hear these issues prior to Punk. Even the Eddie Kingston Sammy thing was after Punk showed up. Like, all that stuff started to happen at one time. And I'm not saying that Punk caused that. Obviously, it has nothing to do with it. But it did seem like one guy set in motion a string of like people felt like they could do whatever the hell they want. And by showing
my guess is that stuff always happens. Like, we heard that with like Starks and Swerve, and it just didn't leak until after, right? But it's like I feel like once the floodgates open with like an actual backstage brawl, then everything starts to leak, and then everything gets a magnifying glass over it. Where before that, like Eddie Kingston came out and was like, "It was my fault. I misunderstood what was going on. Like, it was a promo line. I took it personally. It's my fault. I'm suspended. Whatever." Like, he came out and tried to own that. but you're right. Like it's a really, it sucks. It sucks because it's I think we'll talk about what happened on Sunday, but like the honest to God answer is feels like right now is just like Bryan Danielson, is to put Bryan Danielson on Collision. Not from necessarily like draw perspective, whatever, but like from everything it sounds like there's just nobody more respected than that guy. Nobody can tell that guy shit because he is the best wrestler in the world. And that guy,
well, he won't tell you that. He'll tell you it's Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks, it's Will Ospreay, it's Zack Sabre Jr., it's Kenny Omega, it's everybody else.
Everybody over. Sure. Yeah. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I just thought it was hilarious that in the media scrum, he put every single person over. He's such a company guy.
And just he's so in love with wrestling. Like he just he garners a tremendous amount of respect where I don't think anybody's going to push that guy because it's Bryan fucking Danielson. You know what I mean? Like nobody's going to cross that guy because nobody wants to cross that guy. And nobody can say shit to him because he's the biggest. He's the only active wrestler who's probably in the Mount Rushmore like conversation, right? Like his legacy is that strong, and he tends to lead in a different way. So I think that's awesome. And I feel like, to me, you put the Blackpool Combat Club on Saturday nights. You got the Elite on Wednesdays. You have two groups that are completely different running roughshod. You got Claudio on Saturdays now so that he can defend his ROH title every fucking now and then. Like, if you put Moxley and Danielson on Saturdays and you feel confident enough that Wednesdays has enough of a talent pool in the Elite and some supplementary pieces, now you're back to cooking like probably what you would have been with Punk. You got Danielson, you got Starks is like made over there now. Miro and Hobbs are I feel like they can be strong in that role. And you also can share locker rooms again because there's not any like weird tensions. Like people can just show up wherever they need to. So, but as far as like who's the guy that's gonna step up, they always say it's Jericho. From like a locker room perspective, but it really sounds more and more like, as far as just most respected wrestlers in the world, guys, Bryan Danielson's the dude.
Sure. But it's amazing that in the last phase, right, of who's going to step up and help get through it, it was Moxley. You've got plenty of guys there. And Danielson said it in the media scrum on Sunday that, you know, whatever needs to be done, you know, I'm here to do whatever needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like, he was asked specifically, I don't have it in front of me, but he was asked specifically, I remember seeing it, about sort of filling in and helping. And he was like, whatever needs to be done, like, I'll do it. I just love this so much. Whatever we need, I'll do it. And I think he even said a couple, you know, he said anybody, you know, those are the most important people, right? The people who will sort of step up when something's needed to do it. Yeah. So I don't even think it's a problem trying to find ways to fill that void, because I think it will be filled. What's going to be interesting is to see what let me rephrase that. It'll be interesting to see what direction Collision goes, because Punk had been involved in so many stories on that show. And it doesn't seem like they have a clear cut, like, who's going to be the focus of this show yet, because if you look at a lot of the ad mats that they have going around for the upcoming shows, one has Orange Cassidy front and center, one has Jay White front and center, one has Danielson front and center. They don't seem to just be putting one guy anymore, you know, as the focal point of those ads. So I think they're still figuring it out. And from everything I had seen, you know, they're Warner and TK are figuring out sort of the direction of where they're going to go with Collision now without Punk. And that's fine. I listen, let's let them, I'm okay letting them figure it out, because night fucking 1, they nailed it, if you ask me. The only thing that I want to bring up about Collision, because it led straight into All Out, and I would rather spend the time on All Out. I think we all went into Saturday night after seeing that news saying, what the fuck is going to happen to Ricky Starks? And that's where I was most nervous. In that first segment, after seeing it, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, what was the plan supposed to be? Because this was the plan. Like, this made the most sense to have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat come out with a contract that said, here's what you wanted. Ricky Starks versus the Dragon. Sign it. And then he's like, well, I'm the Dragon, but so is this guy. And Danielson walks out, first of all, a month ahead of schedule. And just brilliant when you think of, well, he's the American Dragon. He's a dragon. He's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. There's no name. It was perfect. I just, like, I saw that and I was like, well, I don't even, like, what were they going to do to get CM Punk in that main event, in that match with Ricky? You know what I mean? Like, what was the swerve going to be? I just thought it was so perfect and such a surprise, because we were all saying it's got to be Danielson, but at the same time, I think we were all like, yeah, but he fucking had like 9 screws in his arm. You know what I mean?
He's got a rod in that arm. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still not 100%. He talked about it in the media scrum. That he's like, you know, it's like a magician. I'm not going to give away a lot of secrets, but I'll give you a little bit. He's like, you know, I didn't really throw a punch with my right arm. It's like, you go back and watch. I don't think I threw one strike with my right arm. And Ricky walked me through that match. Ricky carried me through that. Like, it just, he'll do whatever he needs to do, man. And it was the perfect way to change what I guess your plan was going to be. And at some point, I guess we'll find out what the plan was supposed to be. It always happens like a month later, they'll tell us, right? But
that's what I'm impressed by most, of like how quickly they were able to pivot within a week of, you know, from All In to All Out, and, you know, making sure Brian could go. And if Brian couldn't go, it made me wonder what we're going to be playing C.
Right.
I was thinking Hangman, because that's also a great spot for Hangman to show up. Like, that's such a Ricky versus Hangman would be such a good program. And Hangman would be such a good, like, type of face to kind of fill in for Ricky Steamboat. But, like, to me, the biggest thing was it felt like with the crowd from that point on, they were watching Collision. Like, it went from CM Punk stuff, chaos, whatever, with Tony Khan. Tony Khan got booed, but then got cheered by the end of it. Like, all these things. It was like, now we're back to watching wrestling. So I just thought, also Ricky's promo, man, like, before Danielson even came out, him saying, like, I'm so sick of starting over this, like, I want to cry right now, I thought was like a really nice thing. And you know, it was brought up on other shows that I've done, and it's a good point. Let's not forget, like, Danielson was a hardened heel when he left, but if he's coming back from injury, there's no way he's not going to be a face. So it was the perfect offset for Starks too, in that Starks is a heel that we generally still, like, love, right? Like, there's this, the only reason we boo you is because you're good at your job piece of it. But Danielson's kind of in this weird middle ground where he's with this psychotically violent group of the Blackpool Combat Club. So there's no way that guy's not getting cheered coming back from an injury and under these circumstances. So it really, really, really came together so nicely. And other than Ricky Steamboat calling him Byron Donaldson on commentary, it was about as perfect as you could get.
I will say the Ricky Starks promo, and I think you mentioned about how, you know, it's like, man, Starks is just spinning a lot of truth right now. Just, you know, he's all the stuff he's saying is accurate and true, because that's been his last few years. The only thing I would have figured, like, would have been a nice cherry on top of that promo is if he would have dropped the "tell me when I'm telling lies" line.
Oh yeah, I personally was waiting for it. I was like, oh, this would be perfect. But I mean,
I think they were treading lightly.
You know, listen, but it was perfect. It was done perfectly at a time where they needed it to happen. And Kate, you're absolutely right, because I was waiting to see when when the crowd was going to hijack the show at some point, because you figured a lot of people bought their tickets, had to be pissed, thinking they're going to get CM Punk, and it now it's definitely not happening.
But I gotta also say, like, if you're in Chicago, they've had so many fucking events in Chicago. Like, you've seen CM Punk at this point. You've probably seen him several times.
Sure.
And I think people underestimate how over AEW is in Chicago. It was the birthplace of AEW, right? So I think, like, just the spirit of AEW also resonates with Chicago a lot. So I feel like it would have been worse if Punk had only appeared once or whatever, and then, like,
right, never again.
It's like he's basically been in your backyard for a quarter of the year's events.
Right. No,
You've seen him.
Well, let's move on to talk about All Out, because I think this was a pay-per-view, as we were talking last week. You know, there was a little bit, I think, of like a renewed interest after what had happened with CM Punk, right? We were all, I think, sort of like, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't necessarily pay the $50. But after sort of like the all-in fight, what was going to happen with Punk, and then clearly finding out that he was going to be fired, like, for me, it was like, I'm definitely watching this now. And I planned on watching it anyway, but then it became like, I got to see what's going to happen here. Before we even get to the card, I was so surprised that, again, this could have been the show that the crowd hijacked. They did not. The crowd seemed into everything that happened in the right way as it was taking place. The other thing I'd like to say about the show is that I felt like every match past the 0 hour, the 0 hour is what it is, right? But every match on the main pay-per-view card to me seemed like it was leveling up what came before it. Like, the first match of the night, I was like, wow, that was good. Second match tonight, I was like, wow, that was pretty good. That was really good. Third match, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, it just kept escalating. Each match did better than the last, in my opinion. And I don't remember who said it. Somebody said it on Twitter that I follow, but they said the Dynamite after All Out last year, after Brawl Out, needed to be the best Dynamite it could be, and it delivered. And this show delivered like that did. And I had to agree. I thought this was one of their best pay-per-views of the year.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Maybe of the last full calendar year even. Like, I really, really enjoyed this show for as little build as we got. And with all the drama surrounding it, I thought this was, and you guys maybe don't agree, that's fine. I thought this was a phenomenal pay-per-view.
Yeah, I thought the pace was a lot better than All In as far as, you know, the card went.
I feel like we actually did get the crowd hijacking the pay-per-view, but it was with meat chants. We got a bunch of meat chants.
Well, okay.
God bless.
I hear what you're saying, but that was still within the confines of the match, right?
I know. I was just being silly.
Well, no, but at one point, the point I was most nervous about was FTR and the Young Bucks.
Sure.
That could have sent things off the rail. I was shocked at the amount of cheers. I mean, it was a split crowd, but the amount of cheers and applaud that the Bucks got in Chicago after all of this drama with CM Punk, honestly, genuinely shocked me.
Yeah, I think they got booed a little bit on their entrance, but then, like, once, you know, the wrestling got going, like, you forget about that. Like, you guys are amazing wrestlers, and they're two of the greatest tag teams ever doing it, and we're watching it, and we're going to enjoy it and not worry about people who aren't here.
Yeah, I think it, like, both helped and hurt that they came out with FTR too, because I think even if nothing had happened with Punk, like, they're going to be probably a pro FTR crowd, and there's storyline dissension in that match, right? So I think it probably got a magnifying glass put over it. I feel like they came out of their biggest event of all time, right? The biggest event in wrestling history. They had no build to this. They had the situation with CM Punk. There were no world titles defended on the show, and they pulled it off. And I said, that's incredible. Also, let's never fucking put yourselves in that position literally ever again. That's an insane thing to do.
Sure.
But it just goes to show you, like, work rate and like clean endings and normal stuff and no Jeff Jarrett, like it all adds up to a
I don't
really
think that
great
last one
recipe.
fits in, Kate.
Not on the card proper. You want to have Jeff Jarrett do your pre-show bullshit, that's fine.
But I don't think removing him helps a card. It hurts it.
I'd agree. Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you there, because I honestly, I liked All In was so special because of the spectacle from a pay-per-view front to back. I thought this kicked All In's ass. Like, I truly did. The only gripes I had about it was, I think having the men's matches, like having Shane Taylor and Samoa Joe so close to Miro and Hobbs, so close to a women's match that was going to be, because of the way Chris and Ruby work, slower paced. Like, I might have moved Kenny and Takeshita up somewhere in that mix a little bit more. Obviously, they wanted to have the moment with Joe and MJF, which is one of my highlights of the whole thing. I'm so excited about that program. But like, other than that, it was about as perfect of a pay-per-view as you get. And I'm so happy for Orange Cassidy. I'm so happy for the people that like just went there to do work and put on great wrestling. And what a buffet of a show. Like, we had the meat Haas match that was so great. We had Kenny and Takeshita in a super technical thing. That strap match had no business being that good. And the main event felt like something completely different. Like, I feel like when AEW is at its best, everything feels on a pay-per-view card feels extremely different than what came before it. And extremely like the epitome of its thing, right? So it's like the best death match that you could see, the best Haas match you could see, the best technical-ish match between Kenny and Takeshita. Like, all those things are the best versions of the different type of thing that they are. So I feel like they got back to the recipe, and it's just such a simple fucking recipe, man. It's always, the answer in wrestling always seems to be doing less. Like, it's so rare that you need to do more.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And just to cover off on the results, and then we can touch on whatever we want. We don't have to go through every single thing, but we had in the 0 hour, Hangman Adam Page won the over budget charity battle royal, so $50K. They announced later in the night, went to the something for the Chicago schools. I don't remember the exact charity, but it was a legit charity and not the Mogul Enterprise charity, which would have been hilarious.
That would have been very fun.
Also, I have to give, I put it on Twitter. I wound up like impromptu live tweeting this event, but Mrs. Money, I'm going to put it out there to you guys and we can start the paperwork. Mrs. Money said we should throw our hat into the charity ring with the Mark-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, I think that's beautiful.
We'll start the paperwork.
No, money go to me.
No. That's not how this works.
I'm out.
Hikaru Shida, Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue defeated Athena, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante. The Acclaimed, with Dennis Rodman in their corner, defeated Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, and Jay Lethal. That was really just to get eyes on the YouTube and to have Dennis Rodman, who I don't think knew where he was, just smash Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal over the head? Yeah, sure. That's what we'll go with a guitar. Once we get into the main card, MJF and Adam Cole defeated Alex Reynolds and John Silver to retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Then we have that moment where Samoa Joe comes out early and shoves MJF. They get into their altercation. We'll talk about that. We continue that story tonight. Samoa Joe defeated Shane Taylor to retain his TV title. Luchasaurus defeated Darby Allin to retain the TNT Championship.
So good.
Very good. Miro defeated Powerhouse Hobbs, and after the match, Hobbs continues to attack Miro, and we see CJ Perry make an appearance to save Miro, but he turns on her because she has forgotten him like his god. Although I did enjoy the big screen said hot and flexible.
So good.
We've seen the hot. Show me the flexible.
There you go.
Was that your nickname, Ryan, in high school?
Still is.
Still is.
Unofficially.
Chris
I had
Stat
many.
defeated
I had many.
many. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a show for another time. Chris Statlander defeated Ruby Soho to retain the TBS championship. Tony Storm costing Ruby Soho that championship. And we see Tony Storm again tonight. Some of the best work she's done ever. Just fantastic. We'll talk about it in the second half. Danielson defeated Ricky Starks in the strap match. Like Kate said, that match had no business being that good, and it was phenomenal. Although Starks did not tap, he did pass out. He said you'd have to kill him. He did not tap. Claudio and Wheeler defeated Eddie Kingston and Shibata. It's because, like Matt says, Kate, Eddie Kingston is a brawler, which means he's a loser. Sorry, just the truth.
I can't wait until Eddie Kingston shows up at one of Matt's bonfires. And by Matt's bonfires, I mean Rhiannon's bonfires, because Matt doesn't know how to start a fucking bonfire.
That's right.
He needs his wife to do it. And it's just Matt and Eddie Kingston. And he's like, "You think I'm a loser brawler?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I just happen to have this gasoline can." And he sets the whole house on fire by throwing it all onto the bonfire. And that's the end of Matt.
Can we at least save the
Weird
cat-
fantasies.
That's pretty normal.
Can we save the cats first?
Oh, well, of course.
Okay.
Women and cats.
The
Thanks.
cats are
Out of the
helping
house.
Eddie.
Yeah, yeah. Muda's just
Tiny
helping
gas
them
cans.
go back.
Takeshita defeated Kenny Omega twice in a week. He defeats Kenny Omega. Bullet Club Gold defeated FTR and the Young Bucks. So even though FTR and the Bucks got along, not good enough to beat the Bang Bang Gang. And then in the main event, John Moxley defeats Orange Cassidy to become the new international champion. Orange Cassidy with the run of a lifetime. And again, you look at that match on paper and you're like, part of you, I think, sort of thinks like, should this main event? And then you got what you did and you're like, yeah, this should have fucking main evented.
Oh, there was no part of me that debated whether it should main event or not.
I mean, based on the other matches that were on the card, like, yes, it should have. But like, you know, just on paper, if you're like, should this be at the top of a card? You know,
Unless the heavyweight titles up for grabs, there is literally not one card I would say this couldn't main event. That's how good how this match was. I
Yeah.
knew, like, you have two of your biggest stars in the company. I think that's one thing that Orange Cassidy doesn't get credit for. Is, you know,
Well, and a
I
culmination of
would
a
say-
title run.
Depends to who if you had like an actual tag story going into something, I would say that could arguably main event, but like, especially with Orange Cassidy losing, like this was the perfect opportunity because you had All In earlier to give Orange Cassidy a main event slot and the shine that this match deserved, and it lived up to every expectation you could have had for it. I think it was a perfect ending to an incredible chapter of his career. It's so awesome.
Again, I just thought fantastic up and down this card all night. Did not see CJ Perry appearing. Like, that was a nice little surprise. The whole Samoa Joe MJF thing, didn't think that was going to happen. Just perfect. And again, we get into that with Dynamite, so we can hold some of that until we get to Dynamite. The Tony Storm costing Ruby Soho the match by taking the spray paint. Just fantastic. Yeah, just spraying it in the air like she's goofing off. Just what the, and Takeshita, I think, sort of stamping the fact, you know, or sort of stamping his card and saying, you know, hey, I'm just that good. Like, I think we've all seen it, right? But I mean, pinning Kenny twice within a week's time, that's pretty big. So I honestly don't have anything bad to say about that pay-per-view. It was pleasantly surprising because I went in with very, very low expectations. I don't know if anybody else would like to call out anything they liked in this. I know we talked a little bit about it, but anything we didn't mention that you'd like to bring up, now is certainly the time.
I know it was surprising to a lot of people that the Bang Bang Gang beat the Elite and FTR, but and it surprised me. I was one of them. But thinking back on it, the established group beat the group thrown together, and I love that. I love when established things beat thrown together things because it gives credibility to having established tag teams and established, stables, because they should work better together and they should be able to pull off some things. So I liked that.
Well, I would
I
say
agree.
like the overall theme too was like it was a lot of selflessness from the people who are the anchors. Like you saw Bullet Club Gold being cemented as a real force, and that works because you have dissension between FTR and the Young Bucks. You saw Takeshita going over Kenny, like so pretty much the Elite, other than Adam Page, who was in a battle royal, like putting over the younger talent. You saw Miro win, but man, did he make Hobbs look great in the process. Like that guy has mostly had squashes with spine busters. He's never had a challenge like this in his life. And that match was so fantastic. You had Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson. Like, you can't tell me that wasn't a star-making loss for Ricky, who, to your point, fell asleep in the process. He found out on Friday that they were putting this match together. They knew Wednesday. I think they wanted to make sure Punk was going to actually be gone or whatever. But Ricky Starks found out Friday. I feel like that makes that Saturday promo look even more organic. And he was working the greatest wrestler in the world, injured and walking into a story. And they delivered one of the best strap matches of all time. I think it was only on social media, but if you didn't see it, would encourage you to check out Danielson's promo about how the last strap match he was in was with Bray Wyatt. And he said, I loved that dude. And we beat the hell out of each other. Imagine what I'm going to do to you. Cause like, I don't have any emotional attachment to you. So I think it was a really, I feel like wrestling is at its best when the winners and losers both win. And I feel like this was a major case where the winners and losers both won. And in a lot of instances, like Kenny Omega doesn't hurt from taking that loss. It kind of adds to his story, but him putting over Takeshita is a big deal. The Bullet Club Gold faction has been on this rise, and that was like an, oh shit, they just beat the two best tag teams in wrestling story. So I feel like it was just a very productive thing from that standpoint too, of let's kick off some new stories and let's use all the investment that we have in these established people to uplift some of the younger talent who might need the upswing here.
And really nice work too out of FTR and the Young Bucks. Some really cool tandem offense where like Matt Jackson is working with Dax to deliver the big rig, right? Like
so good,
cool stuff that you're seeing. Then FTR, I think, did the BTE trigger. You know what I mean? Like they were trading each other's moves in offense and not against each other. Just really good stories that they told too all night in these matches.
Breaking news though.
Oh, I don't have a sounder. Sorry. Go ahead. Breaking news. Beep, 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 beep. Hold on. I've got. Oh.
Hello, yes, I'm here with some breaking news. Jesse Ozog is in the chat.
Oh, shit. Hi, Jesse. Good to see you, pal. Welcome to the party. Always a pleasure to have you here. Sorry, we've been talking so intensely about All Out. I wasn't even looking at the chat.
That's why I got your back, man.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Professional.
I have one non-serious thought that came to my mind when I was watching the show. If I had a fancy,
We only
booking
want
hat,
serious thoughts here.
No.
If I had a fancy booking hat, I would put my fancy booking hat on. It was during the Better Than You Baby Dark Order match, and they were talking about the Dark Order and about how they used to have, Brody Lee gave them that extra edge, and they were really, aggressive. And I kept thinking, they really do need an edge. A very specific edge who has experience working with a brood and experience working with factions who could also do a lot of fun backstage stuff with them. That's
Think
my
he would
fantasy booking.
judge them?
Day by day.
Well, he probably thinks he knows them. That's all I know.
I can see clearly how that booking would work out. But I feel like if Ed shows up, he's got to be challenging Christian for the title.
Well, I know you guys might not have seen the media scrum, even though Kate clearly did because she asked us how our fathers were this evening. But if you out there listening or watching don't watch the media scrums, totally fine. I would say go to YouTube, skip ahead to the section where Christian comes out and just watch that. There's a lot of the tough thing about this media scrum is a lot of the questions were for Tony about CM Punk, right? So like in the middle of like the wrestlers coming out and getting some questions, Tony's getting questions. Christian was the best part of that. And then I'll eventually get to something Joe was saying. But Christian was the best part because he came out and one said, "How's everybody's father tonight?" And then two, as Tony's getting questions, the look on his face, priceless. I think I even said somewhere, I'm going to need GIFs of Christian's reactions during that media scrum while Tony's talking because he looked so fucking annoyed. It was perfect. But Christian was asked about the rumors that one of his friends, may be coming over. I don't know if anybody actually said Edge or Adam Copeland. They might have said the name Adam Copeland. But Christian's response was basically, well, I don't have any friends. So I don't know what you're talking about or something like that. No
one friend.
Right, Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
He's a no-selling son of a bitch living his best life right now. I fucking love it.
I don't know if you saw, I retweeted it and it actually kind of blew up because it's just the greatest thing. There's a little girl who saw him at a meet and greet. Did you see this video?
No.
Oh my God. It's the most, I'll send it to you because it's the most wholesome thing. She has a prop belt and she's so in on this Christian thing that for her photo, she was like, "Will you hold my belts?" And so he's holding her belt and his belt and looking down at her with disgust. But she is out of her mind. It actually made me really emotional. And I was like, how does CM Punk take this shit seriously? Because this little girl, she's slapping her leg because she's so excited. She's out of her mind grinning because she thinks it's so funny that Christian has her belt and his belt. It is the best. And he's just looking down at her disgusted. And then the second the picture's taken, he's just grinning. It's so great.
Sure. Oh, God.
It's so wonderful. Oh, my heart.
He also said in that media scrum he got a big fat pay raise, a big fat contract extension. So I'm very happy that he seemingly is sticking around for a little bit longer.
Hell yeah, this run is ruled.
So good. Anyway, anybody else? Any closing thoughts, comments on All Out? Okay. Then I guess we are good. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to step aside momentarily. We are going to let you know about some of the other fine shows. You know what? I feel like doing something tonight. Kate, do you know that we're part of a network?
Us here at the Mark Order?
Yeah, it's weird because we're on a B network, but we're the A show. I don't know. It's called the Shining Wizards Network.
The Shining Wizards Network?
Yeah,
are there other shows on this network, or is it just us? I mean,
no, there's other shows. It should be just us. I mean, we're like the Bryan Danielsons of the network, who it's just tell us what you need, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. We'll bring in the star power, and we'll make sure everything's taken care of. But there, unfortunately, are other shows that are part of the network. Well.
It's more we're the Christians and they're the Luchasauruses. Technically it's their network, but we're really the champions.
I like that. Well,
I wish I could learn more about this supposed network that we're on.
You know what, Kate? Why don't you strap in, sit right there. The rest of us will go get a beverage, maybe go to the bathroom, take a pee-pee, stretch our legs, and you can sit here with the rest of the marks in the chat and hear about some of the other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network. It's a B network, but we're the A show.
Thank each and every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to The Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is The Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
If you like your music heavy, then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway!
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
or playing in punk bands,
or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
Because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rogue podcast. They're funny guys. I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast from two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right. And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke? Oklahoma.
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Bro, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Your Duke and Rogue podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
All right, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast. We're going to talk about Dynamite momentarily, but we want to let you know you can follow us on all of our socials at Mark Order Pod. That's X, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I said Instagram, right? Yeah.
MySpace, LiveJournal,
Friendster.
AIM.
Oh man, AIM. And of course, you could subscribe to us on YouTube and any of the podcast platforms you listen to your podcasts on. That is greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 500 on YouTube. I think we need to kick around some contest ideas. That might help move the needle. But we'll see.
I think we do, but I think there's also just, and there's, I'll let you talk about our t-shirts first, but I would say there's like a bigger issue at hand here. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm going to talk about our t-shirts first. If you would like to support the Mark Order podcast as a whole, on one hand, please head over to our link tree in our social bios and go directly to our Mark Order podcast store on Pro Wrestling Tees. You could also go to prowrestlingtees.com/MarkOrderPod or search the Mark Order podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees, and our store will come right up. You will find our 4 t-shirts that you see on the screen right now, 2 front prints, 2 back and front prints. And the money that you spend there comes back to help support us. And by support us, I also mean one very important group that Kate would like to talk about right now.
Yeah, I would like to talk about it, Ant. Thank you. And thank you for giving me the big screen so that I can see how fucking tired I look. Look, we need you guys to buy shirts, okay? And you would be supporting Ryan, and you'd be supporting Ant and you would be supporting Joe, but you would also be supporting me. And the difference between me and those other 3 knuckleheads that are on the show is that I am a woman. Okay? I'm a woman. And if you don't buy a t-shirt, you don't support women. And furthermore, because I look, as a woman, as I'm making 70 cents to the dollar, I understand that perhaps financially there's some hardships in your life and you can't really afford a t-shirt. There's no excuse not to subscribe to the Mark Order Podcast YouTube channel. Like none. It's free. And if this was like a petition about women, you'd probably sign it, which is basically the same thing. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, tap that bell for notifications, leave a thumbs up on this video, or you don't think I have a right to vote. And you don't think I should have access to abortion or other women's health care that is essential to my well-being. So basically, you want me to die if my pregnancy goes wrong if you don't buy a t-shirt and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I don't think that's a stretch. Thank you.
There were a lot of leaps there, but I will allow it. Now, one important question does come up in the chat because you said you could support Ryan, you could support Ant, you could support Joe. Jesse Ozog did want to know, what if I want to support only 2 of those people?
You have to name which one, and we will assign specific t-shirt designs per person, is how that works.
It's clearly Jesse doesn't want to support me. I know this.
Maybe Jesse is a huge sexist. You don't know.
He did say he doesn't want women to suffer, Edge.
Ah, see? Okay, so here's the thing. If you only want to support certain members of this podcast, how many wonderful designs do we have, Ant?
We have 4.
And how many podcast hosts are there?
There are 4.
So if you want to support 2 hosts, we'll tell you who is which design, but you have to buy 2 shirts is what that means. If you're like, oh, I only want to support 2 of you, that's fine, but you have to buy both shirts. Otherwise, you're only supporting 1 host, and that means you hate the other 3. It's Steiner math could never. Okay?
Well, now what if we want to push some designs? Because, Kate, if people don't want to support you, then I'll give you the Mic Check logo because that seems to be the top seller. So we can push the other shirts.
There it is.
Maybe, Ryan, would you like to be the Join the Mark Order double-sided?
That's a fucking honor and a privilege.
Well, I'm
wondering if I can leverage my shirt if I can be represented by the YouTube subscriptions, because that's where I want people to go.
Oh, well.
There's 4 shirts. There's 4 of us.
Why? This is yes and.
Yeah, but I got like 8 personalities.
Listen. Subscribing. Just broke a glass. Subscribing should be a gimme. Subscribing is free. It takes 2 seconds.
Free.
We need the money because I just broke a glass. I gotta replace it somehow. Okay, you
We
need
gotta
some
pay
money
for
this
the
way.
StreamYard eventually.
We do. So, leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Like bare minimum. You don't support anybody if you don't do those things. If you're just here to take our great content, fuck you. I don't want it.
And this content's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Only going to continue to go up.
Let's not set the bar too high.
Well, come on, Ryan. Yes, and.
Ryan's a grower, not a shower.
Okay, I like that.
Oh my god, I'm so funny.
I like it. So yeah, support us.
Jesse owes me a glass. He broke my glass.
Also, I'd like to call this out too. One LT Photo who's hanging in the chats.
Thank you for your service.
He's done a great service and he got our sign on television. Thank you, sir. I want you other 3 to know, as you do, because everybody has access to the DMs and stuff in the Twitter. Ryan just handles it in the day-to-day. We said if you get a sign on TV, if you're the person to get the sign on TV, we'll send you a shirt It's going to be on the arm. It's going to just pay for it out of pocket. He ordered his own shirt. He did not want a free shirt. He said, I support women and I will buy a shirt. And I said, well, I'll send you another shirt. And he's no selling son of a bitch won't let me send him another shirt.
He's an only selling son of a bitch. Like, we can only sell to him.
Well, whose shirt did he buy?
This is the integrity of our service people, like one Lieutenant Photo.
Whose shirt did he buy? That's a great
Photo,
question.
Jesus.
I'll tell you in 1 second, Joe. I can see. Let me see here. I'll take a look at our sales. Here we go. Oh, it's so
There's just so many to scroll through.
it's just it's running very slow right now.
It's having trouble calculating so few sales.
Make us
No.
so
There are so
popular.
many that it's running really slow.
Oh my god, there's just so much to catalog.
I catalog a lot. It was the. Why won't it show me now? God damn it. Excuse me. I've got to run a different report here.
Oh my god.
There's
Did
too
you
many.
Put a TPS report over there?
Listen, if
You
you
staple
people
a new
knew,
cover to it?
if you people knew how the back end worked here,
Oh, I know how the back end works. Ayo!
you don't believe in contraception, so all this women's rights to healthcare stuff, you're
Very
right.
important.
You should be worried.
Very important.
Let's see. I believe, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, I believe it was the 2 mics double-sided shirt. That's my personal favorite. That is the one I would assign to myself, if we're being honest, because it's my favorite.
Marky Mark kayfabe. PC load letter. The fuck does that mean?
Seriously. And the other thing too is we've got to work it out with 1LT Photo. He gets to come on to this show, so we got to figure out the schedule. We'll get to come on and hang out. I want to be here for that though, so we'll try not to schedule it while I'm away, because I'm going away again.
Oh my god.
Where are you going? I didn't see you could go anywhere.
Listen, I'll leave you
Did you
20.
approve the request? I didn't approve
Yeah, I'm
the
in
request.
HR.
I'll leave you $20 again for pizza. No wings.
Come on.
I like wings.
Nope. See, Joe, I leave $20 for pizza. Delivery, but no wings.
Or is it DiGiorno? I know the game you play.
But I feel like now that I'm here, it has to go up a little bit more because now there's
Sure, we
constantly three of
we
us.
need another pizza.
So at least $40.
No, come on.
In this economy,
I'll go-
come on. Your AntMoney.
Is a good point. You are AntMoney.
I know what'll happen. When are you gonna read it?
No, I wanted you to read it. I support Ryan. Wings are life.
Just as long as they're
That's
not
from
chicken
Jesse
tenders,
Ozog.
I'm traumatized.
You want to let Jesse Ozog down again?
What about? Well, I mean, come on. Is it boneless or bone in?
Or boner.
There's only one right answer.
I prefer bone in, but I'll take anything. Listen, all I know is we want meat.
Wow. Meat. Yes.
Meat
Ryan wants-
forever. Meat forever.
Ryan wants the bone.
Meat forever. Always.
Ryan is team boner for sure. You always want what you can't have, right?
I love this. Well, I'm putting 1LT Photo over. Ant is always on vacation. Get the fuck out of here.
You're always on vacation, and
Well, we are now, Kate. You and I will be at Grand Slam coming
we
up
will
on the
be on
20th.
a Grand Slam.
So Ryan and I assume Ryan and Asian Joe are going to be, spearheading the coverage that night.
Oh, that's right. I actually have someone I can do it with. I was like, man, we're going to push this back. That's right. I got Joe. Yeah.
Yay, we get to do it together.
Good luck, Joe. You're gonna have a lot of puns to deal with.
We'll get one
Well,
LT
episode
Photo
in
in
a
there.
row.
Thinking.
Oh my God, we'll figure out that. But that's on the
Team
20th.
row.
You know what that means? Let's put ourselves on a little list. Let's get a submission. Let's get a request in. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if we can get a little credential.
Probably.
Team Row's got you covered.
Who?
Team Row.
Team Row.
We need to workshop that a little bit more.
Giant doesn't work as
And
well,
then
so we're gonna have
Ant,
to go with Row.
because his last vacation was not as fun. Planned a cruise for himself, right? Isn't that where we're headed with this?
Well, I wasn't going to put that out there, but yes. Well, it's in all reality, it is Mrs. Money and my 10-year anniversary this year. So we are taking a nice cruise in honor of our 10-year anniversary.
That rules.
And it actually does take place over our anniversary. So it works out.
Maybe you'll have a cruise director named Mike.
If there is a cruise director, Mike, I will laugh so hard.
You'll be so lucky.
So, guys, let's talk about Dynamite. Fallout of Dynamite from All Out.
No. Asian Joe put maybe the funniest comment I've seen in a long time in the private chat, and I'm sorry, Joe, it gets read out loud. His comment was, although Team Row is better than Team Asian Schlong.
Nope. Team Asian Schlong it is. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Anywhere you put a write-up, I will go and edit it to say Team Asian Schlong of the Mark Order podcast.
Do not worry.
Shortest show ever.
Do not worry. Yeah, well, I got the Irish coming in, so I'm not helping out at all.
That's rower, not shower part, I guess.
You guys, MJF and Samoa Joe, all tiny dicks. Tiny dicks all around.
Tiny dicks.
Hands up and tits out, though. Let's talk Dynamite.
Oh, we're getting there. So Dynamite opens up and Orange Cassidy makes an appearance. He's all bandaged up. A lot of thank you Orange chants happening. And he says he thanks the fans and says that they told him to stay home, but he's not going to do that. Title or no title, he'll be here every single week because he is freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy and he does not have a catchphrase. It's ironic that's turning into a catchphrase, don't you think?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But that sends us directly into our first match of the evening. Jon Moxley's open challenge for the the International Championship. So Moxley sort of brushes past Orange Cassidy on his way out, and AR Fox is the one to answer the call here. So Fox comes out, Darby Allin along with him, and then we get underway. Jon Moxley eventually does win by pinfall with the Death Rider to retain the AEW International Championship. But post-match is really where it's all at because Darby Allin gets in the ring, raises AR Fox's hand. Basically, water under the bridge at that point. But then they show Nick Wayne on the big Titantron, and he turns around and runs into Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Christian asks how he is and says that Nick is a fine boy, but after finding out about Buddy Wayne, he went back and watched some of the old footage, and that's when he realized that he owes Nick an apology because his dad was even worse than he thought. And if he wants a true mentor, maybe you should be looking at a true champion. And he also says, oh, Nick, say hi to your moms for me, which is just amazing. So, guys, Orange Cassidy makes his appearance, bruised, battered, but he's freshly squeezed. Moxley comes out, defends his title against AR Fox in a pretty good match. And then the post-match stuff with Nick Wayne and Darby Allin and Christian Cage. There's this whole story that's sort of like wrapped up all across Dynamite tonight, right? Darby and AR Fox, and then Darby and Nick Wayne and Christian. So from Go, it's a lot of stories that are layered together. Joe, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of this whole opening of Dynamite?
It was fine. AR Fox is a good worker. Mox is going to win. I don't know if I even count matches that Mox doesn't bleed in. They don't feel like matches then. But I didn't understand kind of why Darby wasn't at ringside since Claudio was at ringside. But that's kind of a little nitpick. And I'm not sure what they're doing with AR Fox now. I mean, he was a heel for 2 weeks, And then now you're kind of back in the, lost in the shuffle of you kind of randomly popping up and having matches.
Well, he didn't do himself any favors because apparently he was not forthcoming about his status to work internationally. So they put him in that match. And then basically the week before, I guess he or they found out somehow, or he told them, hey, I can't travel. Because rumors are he hasn't updated his passport in I don't know, 8 years. Only a bunch of us are stupid enough to do that, me included. I'm still waiting for my passport to come back. Might not come. But yeah, I don't know, Joe. I'm sort of in the same boat as you because it's where do we put him now? I half thought he was going to turn on Darby after that match tonight again to go heel again. But yeah, I just don't know. Kate, what do you think?
Really solid match, as to be expected. Had the same thoughts about the kind of equalizing on the outside that Joe did as well. But I just really like that they started with Orange Cassidy. It's kind of fun that they picked up with where they literally left off too. And I'm excited to see what Jon Moxley does with his belt. This was a fun kind of out of the gate thing. But it just felt like it was nice to put a button on. We saw Orange Cassidy lose, and here we got to see him kind of come out again. And I'm just intrigued to see where he goes. But to your point, very, very layered little story here. It does feel like AR Fox is lost in the shuffle. Maybe he was going to get written off TV, and then they were like, oh, maybe passports are not as bad as punching your coworker in the head, so we won't bury you entirely. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But I like seeing AR Fox work, so I have no complaints about that. But a little convoluted. Love the Christian promo. This is just the best version of him ever, ever, ever. Fun stuff. And I feel like, I shouldn't say convoluted because it feels like there's a lot going on, but it feels like other than AR Fox, they all know where it's going, which is always my concern over if I know where it's going or not. Does it feel like they do? And I think they do. So that's good.
Now, Schlong, do you feel that this isn't over between Orange Cassidy and Moxley? Because I sort of get that feeling too, right? There's still that animosity there.
Oh, it's very clearly not over. I think we figured that at watching the match. I, as you guys know, very last minute went and joined the True Heel Heat podcast watch along, and all of us were kind of in agreement that they almost seemed like they left something in the match. There was a couple moves or sequences we thought they pulled out, they didn't. That we all felt they're saving. They know they're going to have a rematch down the road, and you don't want to do the same match twice. And there's a logical story of Mox versus Orange Cassidy when Orange Cassidy isn't broken down. You beat me when I couldn't barely move on my own. Now let's go for real. So that's going to be a fun story, and kind of I think you're going to see Orange Cassidy a little down a little bit because he lost his title and he clearly loved that title. But I'm glad Mox went right back with
Club versus Best Friends. Make it be where it goes.
But aren't we already kind of there?
Kind of, but you could do it for a contendership for the trios titles.
True, because we did have, the parking lot brawl between them.
Yeah, that's true. That does feel blow-offy, I guess.
But, well, you know what the thing is? You don't have to do it right now, though. You can come back to it. It's not something you have to. I do like that Mox is doing his defenses right away, though. Just like Orange Cassidy, he had one right away against AR Fox. Fox is obviously going to have to rebuild himself a little bit after a silly move on his part, but in some respects, I don't know where he would have fit in this new Swerve storyline. So maybe this is for the best for him, but we'll see. And plus, it's actually leading to a lot of fun Nick Wayne intrigue that I don't think would have happened otherwise. And I'm kind of digging that. So all good on my end.
We'll talk about.
Sorry, go ahead. Ryan level joke, so I apologize.
Go ahead.
Nick Wayne's not the biggest guy. You could call him Lil Wayne.
Listen, I'm just going to let everyone here know that you guys are very lucky that AR Fox's style is high flying and not brawler because I want to make Foxy boxing jokes so bad.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, I thought I'd take the heat from you on that one.
A good friend.
Both were not good. Both were not good. I was just gonna say this about Nick Wayne. We're gonna talk about him later in the main event against Darby Allin, but I'm glad to see Nick Wayne sort of being involved so much here right now, because I think we said it, Ryan and Kate, when we were at the New Japan Super Junior show in the WWECW arena in Philadelphia. There's just something about Nick Wayne, like he's so sort of unassuming, but I felt it more there live than on TV. It doesn't necessarily translate on TV. Not his skill, nothing like that. But there is clearly something there with the live crowd. He connects with the live crowd and is way more like magnetic when you see him in person. So I'm glad that they're sort of giving him this story right off the bat and getting him involved because he's got talent, you know.
So we need to hop on the Wayne train.
Okay. Next match of the night, we had another open challenge. Emi Sakura against Chris Statlander for the TBS championship. Chris Statlander winds up winning by pinfall with the Wednesday Night Fever, retaining her TBS championship. Personally, I thought this, let's see, Ronald Hollick says Edge wrestled Buddy Wayne on Shotgun Saturday Night in December of 1998. Well, look at that.
Fun fact.
And Christian's involved in this storyline. I'm just saying, Ronald's actually pulling out some pretty interesting things there.
Well,
why are you surprised by that?
I'm not. I'm surprised they had a match. So I actually am surprised.
So, good to see Emmy getting a shot here. Didn't get to wrestle All In, wasn't on All Out, but nice to be getting TV time. I thought it was a perfectly serviceable match. Nice before 9 o'clock to get a women's match in. A lot of eyeballs on it. So I thought this was good. Listen, Statlander's going to hold this title for a little bit, right? It took her so long to come back. She took it off Jade. Rumors are Jade is somewhere coming at some point. We don't know where she's going to pop up, if she'll reinsert herself in this picture or the world championship picture, or maybe not even in a championship or a belt feud, but something else. So I didn't think this belt was going to change hands, but I thought this match was good. And I thought it gave, I thought it almost was fan service, right? A lot of fans were calling for Emmy to be involved, and she wasn't. So we get her on Wednesday night. It's not the same as pay-per-view, but we'll take what we can get with this women's division sometimes. Kate, what'd you think about this?
Well, I don't like that it screwed up my bathroom break schedule. That's messed up, but it was nice to see them on earlier in the night. Would have been nicer if it was longer than 4.5 minutes, but I'll take it. Good to see Chris out there defending for sure. I think today was the rescheduling of Bray's funeral, so I'm trying to not be like, where the hell's Saraya? Because she won the title and we haven't really heard from her outside of being Ruby's henchwoman, which she was great at, by the way. I should have mentioned that. She was really great at the pay-per-view on things like realizing the crowd was stalled out, so she would go over and rip up a fan's side or start jaw jockeying. Like, there were a lot of really, really, really good moments in that that she could just read the room really well, and like a lot of her value came across in that, so that was really cool. But this was, for 5 minutes, like, it was a good one, and they're so hard hitting that they packed a lot into that 5-minute spot. So good there. Good to see Emmy back on television for sure. But yeah, good stuff. The Chris Statlander train keeps moving. Kind of feels like we should be getting more than 5 minutes for 2 hours, but
sure,
I'll take it.
I will say I totally forgot about Saraya ripping up the signs at the pay-per-view. My favorite sign that she ripped up, and then we'll move on to Ryan's thoughts here. My favorite sign that she ripped up was Saraya calls French fries chips. It just made me laugh because she ripped it up and the guy was facing the hard cam, and they actually like that was one of the ones they cut to her showing her ripping it up, but I guess she didn't like pull it all the way out of the guy's hands, so he just like held them back together in front of the camera, and it was so fucking funny.
That's
Anyway,
awesome. I didn't realize that's what it said. That's so funny.
yes, that is what it said. Soraya calls French fries chips. Don't know why that got me. Ryan, what'd you think of the match?
Short but good. I'm glad they let Emmy have some offense and get to deliver a little bit. That spot against the stairs was awesome. She's way better than she get a lot of people I think know. It's actually a shame she doesn't get that much attention. They relegated her to dark and now kind of ROH. But she's really good, and would be very handy for this division to be showcased a little bit more, so that when you have someone like Sky Blue or other young.
Oh, Ryan's frozen.
Everybody do the Ryan.
We're all pausing like Ryan. You have to go to the video feed to understand what's happening right now. Well, Ryan shit the bed, literally.
Poop.
So we'll move on. I think Ryan was basically saying that he hates the women's division and women in general, and that if he had to do anything, he would rewrite history, right? I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah, less women in history. It's hard to do a podcast with him because I'm out here talking about women's rights. You know what I mean? And supporting women. And he's like, go broadcast from the kitchen, bitch. Something I get told routinely. So
Where's my dinner, bitch?
Yep.
All right, Joe, what did you think of the match?
I'll just add a couple of things. First of all, I'm a big fan of Statlander's Zoolander fit, her gear.
So good.
The Zoolander gear, great. It felt, I mean, her and Emmy worked well together. Like we said, like the hard hitting, just lay your crap into each other match. They have a lot of familiarity with each other, working in tag matches and then singles matches. I think they wrestled in Dark Elevation last year. So,
we'd ask Brian to confirm that, but you know he doesn't care.
I wanted to wait until he left, so I didn't want to harbor any emotions out of him.
Yeah, you don't want to drag it all up again.
Right. Yeah, but I just, like you said earlier, Kate, like they just really got a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and like Emmy just coming in like a wrecking ball and just hurling her body at Statlander was fantastic.
Well, we'll see what's next for Chris. She's clearly defending the belt against anybody she can. So we'll see what the next open challenge holds. And again, sort of keeping our mind, fixed on like, where's Jade maybe going to pop up? Who knows? We'll see. We do get a pre-taped promo out of Roddy Strong, talking about his life. He's sitting there along with the Kingdom. And he talks about his mom's drug issues, his dad's alcoholism, and that he found refuge in wrestling. And it's not really a business to him. It's everything. It's his life. And he's going to win the Grand Slam tournament. So we are building to his match tonight against Trent. That's right, Trent. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good pre-tape promo because I love the Kingdom sitting behind him. And I don't remember what he said, but at one point they both put their hand on his shoulder at the same time and then removed it at the same time as well. It's just so much fun. So much fun.
He's just been through so much between like his rough childhood and now his neck,
And your friend should care about your neck health.
Yeah. Thank you, Ant, for bringing that up because I got to tell you, okay? Adam Cole, I was going to save it for later. Awful concerned about MJF's neck. Doesn't seem very concerned for Roddy's neck. Roddy's about to go out here with a neck brace, take off the neck brace and wrestle, and put it back on. Okay? What kind of friend isn't like that? Seems kind of reckless. You probably aren't medically cleared if you're wearing a neck brace all the time.
now that Ryan's not here, I'll ask both of you, how are your necks? Because I care about your necks.
Oh my God, thank you so much. It's like a little bit. Steph's just been like working so much and looking at his screen all day, but thank you so much. How's your neck?
My neck's fine. My back and my crack are a whole different story. But also, why doesn't Raj's shirt say like Rod Neck Strong instead of neck, just it just says Neck Strong? So I feel like it should say Rod Neck Strong. But
listen, I like the shirt, and I was gonna bring it up later. I just think Neck Strong is fantastic. The whole neck thing.
Hey, if you're going to buy one of those, you might as well go and buy a Mark Order podcast shirt.
I mean, I can't disagree with you there, Kate. You could buy a Mark Order podcast shirt right now. If you're watching live, you could see the scroll going. We'll keep it up there just to remind you as we talk along. But let's move on. We'll move on to our next match of the night, Aussie Open. Versus... Oh, wait, guys, can we get this right? Can we do the hand signal? Oh, it feels so good when everybody gets it. Aussie.
See, Ryan's in the chat, so he has the visual where he can study.
That's right. Ryan, are you looking? There it is.
Just like that. Simple diamond, pinkies out.
That's
I'm
right.
Basically, Kyle Fletcher now.
Very true.
That's how that works.
So the Aussie Open went against Les Sex Gods. For those who don't remember, that's Chris Jericho and
Sammy Guevara.
Oh, thank you.
I remember that time. So Don Callis also was on commentary for this one. But getting to the end of the match here, Les Sex Gods win by pinfall with the Judas effect. And basically, as the match is coming to an end, Sammy gets hit by Jericho. As Jericho's being thrown into the ropes, comes back and hits that Judas effect. Post match, Guevara is not appreciative of what just happened, and they start to get into a shoving match. Security has to come out and pull them apart, and Sammy leaves a little pissed off. Jericho feels pretty good about this win. So not everything as it seems, as good as it seems, between like Sex Gods, but they get the win here over Aussie Open. Kate, you are a huge Aussie Open fan, so let's get your thoughts on this one first.
I am, and as a fan and a professional, it's very easy for me to just so simple to throw up the hand gesture. I thought this match was really good. Kyle Fletcher is just so impressive. Like, I say it all the time. He's one of those ones where you're like, you're only 24. Like, that is sneaky how good you are at that age. Not this, but this. This was a whole heck of a lot of fun. I didn't love the booking. Like, if you're gonna sow dissension for Jericho and Sammy off of a win, that just feels weird. I do appreciate them trying to switch up the playbook on it because it's something we see so often. Like, I like that, but Aussie Open also just coming off of a tag team title loss feels like you might as well have booked them to look strong here. But the like explosiveness of Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis being like big guy taking bumps, there's just such a good duo and such an asset for the tag division, like, and kind of needed because that trios division did kind of deplete the tag division, and it was the best one in the world, So Jeff Jarrett can't keep it up this long. Like, he's gonna have to retire at some point. And
Will Burch will take care of that.
Hey-o! That one you'd have to ask Karen about. But like he's gonna have to retire someday. So you can't have him getting all these trios and title shots. You're gonna want Aussie Open in there. And also a part of the United Empire, of Mr. Ospreay. So we'll see what happens with his contract in 6 months.
Asian Joe, what'd you think about the match? Is it weird that they get into this shoving match despite winning?
A little bit, but I don't know. Like to Kate's point earlier, it was very much just a storyline advancing tag match for Sammy and Chris, and I agree. I didn't think you needed to put Austin Open against them to do what they wanted to do. Kind of a weird use of a really fun tag team that has a lot of credibility behind them. But yeah, it's also, I'm still confused. Like Sammy just cheers sometimes, and sometimes Chris still just face pops, and I don't know where their characters are going as far as like, I guess Sammy will be a baby face eventually when he turns or when they face off against Chris, but like, it's such a weird thing.
Yeah, I just don't know what we're doing here, and I really want to see Sammy break away from Jericho. Like, it's been too fucking long, Sammy. Break away, man.
Well, I mean, Chris told him to like break off and do your own thing, and like a lost puppy came back home.
He needs to make like Kelly Clarkson and break away.
Oh,
Out of the darkness and into the sun. Just trying to fill the Ryan void.
No, don't. It's okay.
If I close my
Make a
eyes, it's
wish.
like she's here. Yeah.
Take a chance. Make a change. And
Well,
break
we do-
away, Sammy Guevara.
But we do know what it would sound like if Ryan was here. It would be something. I mean, Ryan, what did you think of the match?
I thought this match was great. I really loved it. I love everything. Nothing bad. All good. All good. All good. All good. I was just learning how to love.
Oh, Ryan's battery's dead.
Oh no.
Oh,
like his internet.
That's right. All right. So then we got a recap of the strap match between Danielson and Absolute Ricky Starks, which featured a promo from Ricky, talking about the punishment he took and that he proved his point. He's kind of deserves his spot, and it's his time. I am sure if you didn't see this and you didn't DVR it, you could go find that on their socials. I suggest you do go find it because, again, like his Saturday night promo, I thought this pre-tape was fucking great for Ricky. Really good. I know you don't usually spend time on a pre-tape promo thing. Like, we're just like, yeah, they did it and we move on. But like, I just really feel like they're doing really good with Ricky right now. He could have been pushed back to the bottom of the pile after all this fell apart. And then he came out on Saturday, delivered that promo, then got put into a late story with Danielson. They had the match that they had, and now this pre-tape promo, fucking fantastic. So, I mean, we've always been invested in Ricky, but I mean, if you're not at this point, I don't know what it's going to take. If you guys want to say anything about the promo, please feel free, but I thought this was fantastic.
I just really like the post-match promos they do. Like, it's fresh right after their match. They still have a lot of adrenaline going. So, yeah, it's a promo, but they have that real emotion going. Oftentimes they do it with MJF a lot of times. So it feels, like you said, really treating Starks like a big star. So, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, rules. Ricky's great. This kind of rounded out the story a little bit more. The only thing that's a little tricky is I don't know if you can keep him heel. Like, people are going to be so in on this guy, and I don't know if you want to because Punk is gone now. So maybe he becomes your top face and you lean into that. But I don't think that matters. I think he's going to be great no matter what side of the aisle you put him on. This is the star we knew he is, and now he's finally getting some breathing room to showcase it. It's awesome. Very, very happy to see this.
Well, we'll get an idea of what might be next for Ricky on Collision. We know we'll hear Danielson speak on Collision, so maybe we'll see something from Ricky. But after this, we do see Don Callis in the back being interviewed by the ravishing Renee Paquette. And he's there with Takeshita. They do have an easel with a painting, but it's covered. And he basically says that, they did the unthinkable. They Takeshita beat Kenny twice in 1 week. And next week, they're going to show who their next chosen, Now, here's the thing. I was going to ask you guys. He said something like, we're gonna show you who our next chosen, and I don't remember what the word was after that, how he identified it. Target. Okay, thank you. But target can mean the person that we want to take out. Target could mean somebody that they're targeting to join the family. So we're gonna have to find out next week. And I loved it that they left the painting covered. And Renee tried to lift it up, and Don Callis was like, no, leave that. Don't touch it. I just thought that was very funny. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to go with this. If they're going to, give their next challenger for Takeshita, or if they're going to name somebody who they're courting for the family.
I'm just kind of confused why you have a giant painting set up backstage with a cloth over it in a different city than you're going to be in next week if you're not going to reveal it.
It's the pageantry, the intrigue, the mystery. He's got another painting. Maybe it's not finished yet. We'll have to ask the artist.
But just seems kind of silly to bring it to an entirely different city.
No, I don't disagree. It makes no sense, but it's still fucking great.
I'm intrigued by this. I'm excited to see who might enter the fold here. This Don Callis run has been refreshing. I've actually liked it a lot better than the stuff he was doing with Kenny. And I liked the stuff he was doing with Kenny. It just seemed like goofy Kenny heel 69 me Don isn't like what Don Callis is best at. So this kind of more serious assassinate my former child stuff has been really good with Takeshita. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the Callis family brings to the table. I don't know who joins. I'm intrigued to see.
So I'm sorry, maybe you just said it and it went straight over my head, Kate. Do you think Target's going to mean somebody they want to join the family or somebody that they want Takeshita to take out?
I'm going to say join because I feel like the painting reveal should be like a them moment, right? Like it should be somebody that they're bringing over. But you're right in that it could go either way.
Okay. Joe, what do you think? Target positive or negative?
Depends on how much money I spend there.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a Ryan level pun.
I
You
know.
should not feel good about that.
I don't. I'm going to go hate myself later. I hope it's someone they target to join the family because they keep talking about the family, and it's really just a family of him and Takeshita. So I want them to, build this out a little bit more instead of just picking targets to go after.
Maybe that's a really sweet sentiment, though. Like, your family can just be a father and son. It doesn't have to be like a nuclear family or a huge mob. Like, it can just be the two of us. They just get a dog.
I would pop so hard. It's
Maybe
them
it's
and their dog.
Maybe it's a family portrait of them with like a German Shepherd.
That's it. That's beautiful. Named Wally. It's just Takeshita and Don Callis and
Sitting in
Wally.
front of the fireplace with this picture of them sitting in front of the fireplace above their mantle.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
get it.
That'd be
I like this.
Also, I really enjoyed. I forgot to mention before with Don Callis on commentary when he came out to join commentary. Did you guys notice it said patriarch of the Don Callis family? I don't know why that made me laugh so hard.
Because it's full mobster now.
It's just so funny. The patriarch, of course he is. It's his family, damn it.
Of course.
So we do get Maxwell Jacob Friedman making his entrance to speak. And he tells Indianapolis that the devil's here. And he talks about how he lived in Indiana when he was trying to make it on the Indies. And he says he wants to, he went to the back after retaining the tag titles. And the Mark, Tony Khan, told him he had to wrestle again on September 20th. But then he remembered that's Grand Slam. That's the Devil's Den, baby. That's his home state. So start spreading the news because MJF is coming back to New York, New York. And whoever wins the tournament will find out the hard way that nobody's on the level of the devil. But one person might need to be taught a lesson, and that's when Samoa Joe enters the fray. And he gets on the mic and says he was in the back. He heard all the piss and vinegar in Max's voice, and he wanted a front row seat. So he's out there, and he wants to know what seems to be the problem, kid. And MJF says the only reason he came out here so fast is that he must have confused MJF's music for the ice cream truck. The next line popped me. Samoa Joe says that's good, but the last time that he had anything to do with an ice cream truck, he was busy being the biggest star on the other company's network. So again, he asked the question, what seems to be the problem, kid? Well, that gets Max upset. And he calls him Joseph and says he's quite creative himself, and then calls him the Pillsbury Joe Boy and Samoa Joe. Mechaleka High, your schmeckles, Tiny Joe. I like that one. That was a great Pee-wee's Playhouse reference. Jambi. And Samoa Joe tells him that his bris was postponed due to lack of material, and his time with these Midwesterners made him dumb, and he asks again, what's the problem, kid? So Max now loses his cool and says if he calls him kid one more time, he'll knock his teeth down his throat. So Friedman goes on after he cools off for a second and says that's what Joe wants so that he can skip the line. But there's a tournament, and if you want to wrestle the champ, you got to win the tournament. So he would have he would have bit on this when he was a kid. And if anybody knows about him as a kid, it's Joe, right? And he asks who's ready for story time with MJF, baby. And he starts in. He says when he was 19, he had a tryout in Brooklyn for the WWE, and he knocked it out of the park because he's that damn good. But then he got pulled aside from William Regal and was told that he was too young to get signed. And as we all knew, he blew Max off. And the story ended with MJF knocking his British ass out and sending him packing back to NXT where he belongs. And if Joe plays his cards right, he'll be next. So Max talks up the job that he was given that night, walking the most diabolical monster to the ring, the great Samoa Joe. And it's true, he might be the worst, but Friedman won't pretend he's not good. But what did he do? He took a 19-year-old kid and shoved him into a brick wall and laughed at him. And he knows why Samoa Joe did that. He knows how scumbags think because, well, he's our scumbag. But the point is that he's not a kid anymore. He's a full-grown man and a generational talent and the AEW World Champion, the best wrestler on God's green earth, and the man who headlined the most historic pay-per-view of all time. And he said he's going to kill Joe. Why? Because he's better than him, and he knows it. And Joe says that he didn't think of him as a kid when he pushed him into the wall. He thought he was a little bitch. And he's going to enter that tournament, win it, and come for him. And until then, have a nice day. So MJF goes to leave, but Joe kicks the ropes into his Yambag, Yambag City. Excuse me. Forgot the term. Yambag City. Thank you, Taz. And then he starts to beat him while he's down, grabbing the title, holding it up high. MJF is able to recover and hit Joe in the in Yambag City, and then put him into the corner, bites his forehead. Max puts boots to him, but as he charges in, he gets spiked with the rock bottom. Joe sets him up for the muscle buster, but Adam Cole is able to make the save. And that's when the medics come out, check on Max, who seems to be in a lot of pain. He's complaining. You could hear he was complaining his left arm is numb. And Joe does come back out and says the next time he'll try to leave it attached, and he can't guarantee it, and calls him a bitch yet again. So thus ends the Joe MJF segment of the night. But my favorite perhaps thing to happen now is that as MJF and Adam Cole are making their way up the ramp, Roddy Strong starts shouting Adam Cole over the system. And that's when him and the Kingdom come out to draw Cole. and make their way down the ramp for his match. That is also when we get to see the neck strong shirts that the Kingdom is wearing. Fantastic. So guys, we'll pause there before we talk about the Roddy Trent match. You know what? I'm not going to give my take on anything. Asian Joe, what'd you think of this promo?
I'm always a fan of Joe promos, so I mean, I was kind of waiting for this to come to a head with him and MJF to have this promo battle.
Homer. I'm a
I
Joe.
know.
I love Joe's promos. I love everything about Joe. You ego.
He's from the Samoas. I'm from the Asias. You know,
It's true.
It's enough.
True. Joseph of
it's
the
like we're
Asians.
related. I enjoyed the continuity between like everything in pro wrestling is lore for AEW, so being able to use that and have that part of the story. And then I think at the end, Joe talked about being provoked, which we never like to like tie in back to when he was in NXT, and he wouldn't act on something unless he was provoked. So, but yeah, it'll be a fun program. I thought. Before this Joe stuff happened, I really thought Roddy was going to win this tournament. But now I'm like, no, it has to be Joe.
I think it's interesting because it could. Sorry, Ann, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in my brain, it could go either way. But go ahead, Kate. We're probably thinking along the same lines.
Well, so this was the matchup in the Owen, and Joe won, right? So you can either have him beat Roddy here, or you can have him get his win back. But what's cool is I think either story can lend itself to an intermittent title shot, like that. It doesn't have to be like either one of these can be snapped together for a Dynamite. I think maybe you have Roddy win the whole thing because I don't think Joe needs it, and I think he could just find a different way to get MJF to get challenged. I think you could do that with Roddy too, but it has so many more implications with the Adam Cole stuff. You probably need to keep that story on track. Either way, I'm very much looking forward to them running back Joe and Roddy. And I thought there was this really nice thing with this segment where MJF has this more loud and exaggerated delivery. And what I always love about Samoa Joe is he's this big dude, but he has this very understated and cool and menacing serial killer delivery. And like that offset just made for some really, really nice chemistry in this. And I loved him clarifying, like, listen, it wasn't because you were 19, it's because you were a little bitch. that killed me. Of like, it wasn't because I thought you were a kid, it was because I thought you were a little bitch. And I still think you're a little bitch, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Is just good stuff. And him walking with MJF walking out of the ring and him just pulling the rope like that, it's like, God, every movement Joe makes has like such intentionality, and when he's heel, it just has this whole other layer to it of just being such a fucking bully. Like, he's just the best at this. I don't know if this was the plan or not. This might have been like a thank you for what you did at Wembley kind of move. But either way, for them to grow it out of the one move that happened on Sunday as a callback, I think is brilliant. And Samoa Joe doesn't lose anything in losing a title defense to MJF. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, either it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter, Joe or Roddy. There are stories in place for either one, with what's going on with MJF. And I'm with you, Kate. Like, there can be, if it's not Roddy now, it can be Roddy after. If it's not Joe now, it could be Joe after. So we'll, I think, eventually get to it. Ooh, but an interesting twist from Jesse Ozog. Is MJF, well, he meant to say going. I'll correct you, Jesse. I'm sorry. Is MJF going to win Joe's TV title?
He better not.
He'd better not, but could you imagine the insufferable MJF with 3 belts?
I don't need like Bloodline 2.0 bullshit. I'm good. Like, that's too much. And ROH belts already mean nothing to the ROH program.
Of course.
Like, put it on. I think they're waiting for Mark Briscoe to come back, is my guess. But it would be fun to do. It would be really fun to do.
Well, moving out of
the chat saying the real thing. I need Samoa Joe and ZSJ first, which they built out 3 months ago. Gimme.
Yeah, would be good to get that. So
TV champion versus TV champion.
yeah,
Happy Zach, Joseph of the Samoas. Let's go.
do it. This does lead into Roddy Strong versus Trent Beretta in the AEW World Championship Eliminator Grand Slam Tournament quarterfinal match. Again, the fantastic Kate mentioned it before. Roddy has the neck brace removed before the match. There are points during this match where Roddy's, holding his neck, and the Kingdom are sort of saying he needs a minute, his neck, and he's sort of playing possum. And then as the match continues, Roddy does win by pinfall with the end of Heartache. Post-match, the Kingdom do put the neck brace back on Roddy, and they carry him around the ring to celebrate. Really fucking fun. I loved it. And I thought this match was fantastic. When I saw the graphic this morning, I made it a point to send it to Mrs. Money and say, get prepared for tonight. Because these are two possible contenders for the Mrs. Money stable. So I enjoyed the match. I think it went the way it needed to go. Trent's fantastic, though. I don't think this loss really kills anything going on with Trent. So, Kate, what'd you think of this match?
I thought it was one of the bravest things a wrestler could do for Roddy Strong to go out there with the condition that his neck is in. Everybody talks about like when Cody Rhodes went out there with his torn pec and it was all like purple from here, like pales in comparison to Roderick Strong going out there with a neck brace, taking the neck brace off, fighting with a naked neck, okay? And then putting it back on and getting the win in the process. Like just stepping foot between the ropes is brave enough. Never mind doing the job and finishing. Getting the W here. Felt like it was shitty of Trent to kind of lay in those forearms. Like I feel like he's the face in the situation. It's messed up. Okay, be a gentleman. Like the question mark at the end of Trent's name now, I'm questioning his character.
Wow.
Also, didn't see Adam Cole out here. Didn't see him celebrating for his friend. Didn't see him being concerned about his neck. MJF's got, I got a pinched nerve. I can't feel. Come on. We know the extent of Roddy's injury. Okay, so some babyface Adam Cole is, but this match was really good. This was a really fun match. Roddy is so good at just like laying in really tough because he's not the biggest dude in the world, but man, oh man, does he lay his shit in. And it was fun to see because Trent gives it right back, right? So this was a blast. The right guy won. Trent's so good in the ring. A perfect role for him to be playing right now until the best friends kind of get back on track. This was great.
And some really good technical wrestling in this too. Right, Joe? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you knew what you're going to get with these two, knowing how like hard and sometimes stiff they work. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Statlander Emmy match, the male equivalent of just beating the crap out of each other. And I'm kind of disappointed that Roddy didn't like wrestle with the neck brace on. I think that would have been fun. But yeah, I echo your sentiment, Kate. His bravery and courage is, I mean, people talk about Kurt Angle winning his gold medal with a broken neck, but I mean, this might surpass what he's doing. What he's doing now might surpass that. So, the
I think
closing
so,
sequence.
he knows. Like he's known for months about his neck, and he still goes out there. Hero is not too strong of a word.
No.
One correction for you, Joe. Kurt Angle did win the gold medal with a broken freaking neck. So it's way worse than a broken neck.
But is it worse than Roddy's?
No, I mean,
he has a broken neck, a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's got to end the heartache eventually.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see we don't know who's next up for Roddy. We got to get through the next match in the main event tonight to see who he's going to face. A Collision. But for now, we go backstage with the remarkable. That's not a good enough word. I didn't like it after I said remarkable, so I'm going to change it. Let's go with the stunning Renee Paquette. She is remarkable, but it's not strong enough. And she's interviewing Toni Storm. And Toni doesn't want to look backwards. She wants to look forwards. But Renee is pointing out there's a 4-way number 1 contenders match for Saraya's title. And next week, Toni says that if Paquette is good, she's going to give her a special look into her life. And until then, it's chin up, tits out, and watch out for the shoe. And she walks off. So Renee is a little confused, but of course the shoe comes screaming in at her at the end. She has to duck. She says, "What the hell?" And we go. Toni Storm is playing this character beautifully. Love it. She was also very confused. She did get asked about, Ruby, and she was very confused. Like, what do you mean? What happened? I don't know. What? Spray paint? I don't know. It was very funny. Very funny. I don't know if either of you want to say anything here. I thought this was amazing.
What do I want to say? Chin up. Tits out.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out for the shoe. God, this is just fucking gold. It's so good. It cracks me up every time. Her not being able to remember the spray paint, and she was talking about she has a lot of performances. She can't keep them all straight. I was just in stitches. And God bless Renee, because she signed up to be an interviewer. She did not sign up to get like squat lifted by Chris Statlander. She's got shoes getting thrown at her week over week. My goodness. But this, come on, how much fun is this? It's like the unraveling starlet is so much fun. What a blast. What a blast.
I would like to put this out there in the ether. If this ever got back to anybody at AEW or Pro Wrestling Tees, I believe we need a shirt that is simply like, I don't know what you want to have it say, but it needs to be like either a checklist or 1, chin up, 2, tits out, 3, look out for the shoe, or watch out for the shoe. We need it. I'd have one immediately. That's all I'm saying.
I'm glad you read my Twitter, Ant.
I swear to God. Did you say the same thing?
I did. I retweeted Kate's quote of the promo.
I had no idea.
They gotta get the t-shirt up 100%.
1000%.
I was thinking maybe she doesn't remember all these things going on. Maybe all these, spray paint fumes have gotten to her head where she's a little cloudy.
It's possible.
It would be funny if that's what we find out caused her change in
the spray paint fumes.
Right. It was that she wasn't wearing like an aspirator or whatever it is, like the face mask. Oh, man. Anyway, we go to Tony Schiavone interviewing Hangman Adam Page in the ring. And he talks about coming to Chicago on a whim when he heard there was a charity battle royal. And he talks about why he picked the Chicago Public Education Fund to give his $50K to, because he was a teacher and teachers are important. And that's when Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana roll up. And Nana demands that people give Swerve respect. And Strickland says that being in a coffin for 2 weeks gives you clarity. And the first person he thought of when he got back was Hangman. I just want to say quickly, hilarious finding out that Swerve had to spend 2 weeks in that casket.
Especially when his hair was in between it from closing it. You would think he'd be able to get himself out, but I guess not.
Well, he didn't suffocate that way.
That's true.
You're right. So he basically, he's asking him, charity, really? Are you the mascot here? Are you happy being on a pre-show? Because he knows that Page isn't ashamed of himself, but he'll be ashamed for him. And talks about how Hangman was the hand-picked franchise player, and look where he's at now. Look what he's done. Excuse me. He's been a tag title holder, world title holder. He set box office records leading up to All In, having an attendance record built off of the work he's done. Did he lose his confidence or his spine? Well, he hasn't gotten new gear in almost a year, no new merchandise in almost a year. He got a contract extension, so he's been eating good, and he points to his stomach and says, "It's showing." But he doesn't have singles matches or promos on Dynamite. And when was the last time that he had a title match at all? Well, he's taken a back seat to the Elite because he's gotten too comfortable. So he's got a couple options. His first option is to ride off into the sunset like the cowboy movies he used to watch and let that contract fizzle. Move out of the way and let Swerve take his spot, and he'll turn it into Swerve's house. Option B would be to cowboy up and find that spirit and fire and show everyone what cowboy shit's really all about. Or I guess the third option is they could fight for that spot, but Swerve forewarns him that Swerve has no empathy for human life and he'll walk him like a dog. But either way, he's going to come for that spot. So Paige sort of slinks off, and Strickland, talks about his wife and kids. That's when Hangman goes and gets back in his face and basically says, "Who told you that was a good idea to talk about my wife and kids?" Well, Hangman should have been watching his six, because Brian Cage rolls up and attacks him from behind, power bombs him, drill claws, and they move on. Hangman is left for dead at that point. I am just shocked that you can't hear Brian Cage coming. For a dude that big, I guess he moves like a ballerina. Very quiet.
Walks like.
Very quiet. So, we are not going to pay off Swerve and Keith Lee just yet. Looks like we're moving on to Hangman Adam Page and Swerve. And to be honest, I don't mind it. I like both these guys. I think it could be a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting, some of the stuff Swerve was saying, because then you think about it, you're like, yeah, when was Hangman in a match that really sort of mattered? Like, I know he was on All In, but that was like a trios match, right? He hasn't really had a whole ton of meaningful singles matches, so kind of interesting. But either way, I'm here to see where they go with this program. They did announce that we're going to get Brian Cage and Adam Page. I hate when they do that because I fuck it up all the time. I had to really think about when I just said right there, by the way. So we're going to get Adam Page and Brian Cage 3 next week. I just hope that that's the end of that, and then we move on to Swerve and Adam Page, because that could be a lot of fun. Joe, what'd you think of this? Sort of a little out of left field, but I didn't mind it.
A little bit. It's like you have two really like top end guys, and you're trying to figure out what to do with them. So you kind of, work on a few of, get going for a top spot. And I learned that Swerve was for the kids, and Adam Page is now a complacent cowboy. So yeah, I think if we're not going to get that Swerve Lee match
Ever
in the foreseeable future, this is certainly a nice consolation prize for that. So I'm here for it, and I think it'll be a great match.
I wanted them to continue with the Darby and Nick Wayne story. Like, I don't like what they did with this with Swerve and AR Fox. I'm not excited for a Hangman Swerve program. I loved Hangman's reaction of, "I've dealt with enough of this shit this year." Felt very much like they're using Swerve to maybe personify what the perception of CM Punk's complaints about Hangman were, whether those were real or not, which I thought was a clever way to do it. Like, it felt more like towing the line than, he didn't take the direct shots that Punk might have made, but leaning into that like complacency thing or whatever, I thought was a clever way to do it. And it does feel good to have both of these guys feeling like they're an important program. It does seem like there's sort of a mobility problem title-wise with talent, where when they drop a title, like John Moxley is the first person to hold titles of different levels, right? He's, I think, the first, not including like tag trio or whatever, but he's the first like world champion to go to the international picture. We haven't seen anybody escalate up with the TBS title included or go back down. So I think that's something that they could get better at, is what's next for your champions to make them feel important. Because it always seems like Jericho's the gatekeeper of like, you're at the top of the card, I'm the important dude to keep you around there, but you're not in a title picture slot. I think you could do that with some former champions, like right after they drop. So that's my thing. But I'm very excited for the feud. I liked a lot of what Swerve had to say. It was a little rough on the delivery, which is unusual for him. So, but other than that, I think it's headed in a cool direction. And nice to see like Brian Cage's best matches from his earlier run were against Adam Page. So I'm excited to see them run it back.
Well, we'll see where it goes. They did let us know some of what we're going to get coming up for this tournament, because the last match of the night, which we're going to get to, is Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne. But we did find out that on Friday night at Rampage, we're going to get in the tournament, we're going to get Jay Lethal versus Penta El Zero Miedo. And then the other match we're going to get is Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy. Good night, sweet prince, Jeff Hardy. And then we're going to get the semifinals at Collision, and then the final will take place next Wednesday on Dynamite. So we'll see how we get through the tournament until next week. But we go into the final match of the night, Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne. You know, I think there were a bunch of people who were like, wait, why are they fighting each other? Right? Because I know I saw a few things where people were like, wait a minute, why is AR Fox fighting Moxley? How did that make sense? He was involved in a different story, and now all of a sudden this. And then also like Darby and Nick Wayne, like, aren't they supposed to be friends? Like, why would they be thrown into this match together? But I think when you look at the stories that they're building, you know, sort of between Darby and Nick Wayne, like this all, you know, makes sense. But I mean, it's Nick Wayne, Darby Allin, two guys who know each other very, very well. So I think you knew the caliber of match you were going to get. Darby Allin does win by submission with the double wrist lock can opener. He was not able to get you know, there was a crucifix pin, you know, couldn't get the job done. So we get the submission. Post match, Christian you know, comes out and they go to to applaud Darby on the stage. So clearly this Christian sort of through line of the night starts it and ends it. I kind of like the book ending of this story within this episode of Dynamite. But I thought that you know, when you look at sort of the match that they set up, Darby and Nick Wayne, you had some high hopes. I thought it delivered. I thought it was a pretty good match, and it went the way it needed to go, right? Like Nick Wayne wasn't gonna win this match.
Okay, but more importantly, what did your father think of this match?
You know, I think that he was a little confused. He was like, why is half of this guy's face painted? I don't understand. Why wouldn't he just do his whole face?
I'll just be glad you have a father. Okay. So I have less of a problem with the story switch stuff when a title's on the line, because if it's a title defense, I don't need a story. It's like the story is I'm trying to win that title. Bang. Good. I don't need like a ton of work around this. This felt a little bit more flipped on its head, but I'm a sucker for a good like mentor-mentee story. And it's also cool to watch Darby Allin now be in the shoes of the savvy veteran, where I feel like so much of the story was like he's getting raised by Sting, and now it's kind of like you're seeing that knowledge tree get passed on. I love a Darby Allin match where we get to see like wrestling, and we got some of that in here tonight, which was really, really refreshing, rather than Darby just like heaving his body around the ring, which is also usually a lot of fun, but like when Darby's wrestling a match that has a story behind it, he's at his most valuable, in my opinion, and I really, really like it. So good stuff to close this out. Nick Wayne is being raised in the same way that I guess kind of like the Four Pillars were, where it's like you're being kind of integrated into a great story that's already in existence, with some of the best workers in the business who are going to guide you along in this process. So really, really dig it. Big fan of where they're going with this. And I feel like they could have done a better job with the story of it, but like student testing themselves against someone that has been in their corner the whole time is good enough for me.
So we know that it's going to be Saturday night. We'll get Roddy versus Darby. That match should be good. And then we'll have to see how it shakes out on the other side. Personally, I think it's going to be Penta and Samoa Joe, because again, good night, Sweet Prince, Jeff Hardy. I mean, Joe will just toss him around and he'll make Joe look great. Not like really Joe needs it, but you know, then we'll see how it sort of shakes out. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was a pretty good episode for a fallout, trying to get to Grand Slam. You know, they have a short couple weeks here. We've got a lot of stories that are happening at the same time too, you know, with the Adam Cole and the Roddy Strong and the Luchasaurus and with the Christian Cage and Nick Wayne and Darby Allin, you know, the Don Callis family. So there's a lot of stories going on. But I'm interested in what they've got, you know, coming. So I like it.
I think some of the jerkiness tonight might have to do with like, who knows what the hell Collision is right now, right? They have to go weave that. So I think, I mean, Christian's been predominantly on Collision and he had multiple segments tonight on Dynamite. So I think they're trying to probably re-engineer in reaction to not having Punk, who was so many stories on Collision.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how they shape the rest of shape the rest of Collision too, right? So we know we're going to have the tournament, you know, to get through, and then we'll, you know, I guess sort of figure out what else is going to fill the card. But they've got a lot of stories, and they do have a lot of guys on you know, on the roster who, you know, or I'm sorry, on the Saturday night show, you know, I guess it's the roster, but in that locker room, you know, there are a lot of stories too that are going on that we don't see on Wednesdays anyway, right? You've got the Bang Bang
Starks
Gang,
and yeah.
Starks. So we're gonna find out a lot more, but I thought it was a pretty decent episode of Dynamite tonight. So gang, if we're okay to move on, we only have a few things to discuss since we pretty much took care of a lot of the big work. But it should be noted that if you are in the Seattle area, tickets for Wrestle Dream October 1st, Sunday, October 1st, go on sale Friday at September 8th, at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And they did give an official date. I know it came out last week, but they did have an official graphic and date for Revolution. It's going to be at the LA Forum. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in the chat will put it there, but both those are coming up. And Grand Slam obviously on the 20th. Kate and I will be there. So if you're going to be there, certainly reach out and let us know. We would love to say hello. We're not like Matt and we're not like Ryan. We go out and do things. We meet the people.
Yeah, we're people of the people.
That's right. So, some other news that came out of the media scrum after All Out was somebody actually asked about the status of Sonny Kiss, and it turns out that Sonny Kiss is no longer, unfortunately, with All Elite Wrestling. Their loss is the best ass in the biz, but When Tony was asked about it, he said, I really like Sonny Kiss. We have a roster of over 100 wrestlers now across AEW, and Sonny's a great wrestler. I think I've done a lot to really keep the locker room stable, and I've done I have a lot of people that I not only keep under contract, but also I've done well, I think, to not do major mass layoffs and let 20, 30 people go at a time. But I do think I can't renew every single contract in AEW. It would be impossible. And with such a big roster and limited amount of TV spots, I think Sonny Kiss is a great wrestler and had a lot of potential from the very beginning with AEW, and still has a lot of potential as a wrestler, and I really like Sonny Kiss. He also said, I think Sonny Kiss could certainly be back potentially too. We've seen wrestlers go on and do exciting stuff and come back, like Stu Grayson. So you never know what the future holds for Sonny Kiss or AEW, but I think Sonny Kiss had a lot of talent, has a lot of talent, and I definitely wish him the best as a wrestler and still hold Sonny in very high regard. It's true that I didn't renew that contract, but not because I don't like Sonny. I like really because I look at all the matches, I do all the paperwork and put everything down on paper. I like Sonny a lot, but every opportunity Sonny has had, every match I've booked Sonny in, I put a thought into putting everything together. We say the same of every wrestler here. And right now, with a huge crew, I think it's hard to get everyone on TV. He did go on to say a few more things. The interesting thing was, I wish Ryan was here, because he basically was like, without Dark or Dark Elevation, it's sort of hard to find the time to get some people on.
Maybe. Actually, fucking plan your ROH program.
It's true.
I'm confused. So does Tony Khan like Sonny Kiss? Because I couldn't tell from his statement.
So I was reading his statement transcribed, which is why I had so many flubs, because I couldn't believe somebody actually said those things off the top of their head. Yeah.
It seems like he liked Sonny Kiss. Just like from what I reading between the lines of what you were reading, it feels like the conclusion is that it's a crowded roster, but that he does like Sonny Kiss. That's my take on the situation.
And if he had Dark and Dark Elevation, he might have somewhere to put him.
Put him in ROH. Do something with ROH.
Don't disagree. We talked about CJ Perry or Lana or whatever. I don't think they even have a name for her yet. They called her. The screen said CJ Perry, but they were just saying Miro's wife.
Hot and flexible.
Commentary. Hot and flexible. But she's not officially All Elite yet. Apparently, like the week before, they were able to work out the terms of her appearance. So Tony Khan said in the media scrum, I think it's great to have CJ here. It's not a long-term guaranteed thing or anything, but at least for tonight, it was great to have her appearing with us. I thought it was great. It was a great surprise, and it was a great show. Miro and Hobbs was a match I really believed would be great for All Out, and it's important to have great matches on both shows. So we'll see what's next for CJ, but it doesn't appear right now she is officially All Elite, but clearly they've got plans because they brought her out, and now there's this whole thing with Miro.
I'll tell you what, the way she looked would be enough to make me believe in God again.
Sign her.
High five.
Boom.
Boomage.
And let's see. The last thing I think I had here was just in all of the CM Punk talk, Jericho did dip into it on his latest episode of Talk is Jericho. Basically, he said he talked to him briefly at All In, and Jericho said, I did talk to him briefly. I was going to do a Frankensteiner off the top rope, and I know that he does that sometimes. So I was just curious if he was doing it. I went and talked to him for a bit and asked him if he was doing it. He wasn't. Then I told him I was going to do the GTS with a straight face, and I think for a second he thought I was going to, and I was joking, of course. So, if that doesn't tell you what you need to know about CM Punk. That says everything.
Well, it seems like he might have not been in a very good mood.
I
He
mean,
might have not been joking around mood.
do you think Jericho would really be like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing the GTS"?
No, but I think he could say it in a way that would make you question it.
Oh, Phil. Hey, remember that time Phil got into a fight at All Out, and then a year later got into a fight at All In, but this time lost his job? Oh, Phil.
I do. Remember how they gave him no consequences in between any of that, and they gave him his own TV show?
That's right. Oh, that was fun.
Good time.
So much fun. That's it, folks. No more news and notes. We've talked about
We have
everything
no more
we
news.
could possibly.
We have no more notes.
Unless you people have something that I didn't bring up.
No, just to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you support women.
Okay.
And to leave a thumbs up on this video. That's all I have to say. That's my big note of the night. Is if you support women, subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Oh, Kate, I did have one maybe thing here. Two minor notes. These are from the rumor mill. Per Fightful, Thunder Rosa's return could come at quote anytime.
Oh yeah, good news there.
That's good news. And also Bandito should be back in AEW soon, according to the Observer newsletter. The pins were removed from his wrist and the cast has been taken off. So he should be hopefully back for an estimated September return, which is awesome because Bandito fucking rules.
Get back here and get yourself in a strap match, you coward.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. Anyway, all right, let's do our plugs and get the hell out of here for the night. Kate, what are we plugging?
I don't know. I'm on Fightful all the time. Fightful Select on Mondays. Fightful main channel Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday doing your NXT, ROH, and SmackDown review, as well as any pay-per-view post shows on FightfulSelect.com every Wednesday, talking all things All Elite right here at the Mark Order podcast. And you can also follow me at Miss Kate Fabe, and you can go to my Venmo and you can send me money because I want to go to London for a royal quest. I need to get out of this country. So go to my Venmo and send me like $1,500.
Wow, she is just literally asking for.
Just give me a bunch of money for literally no reason because I want it.
Well, do you have an updated passport? You're not going to AR Fox this, are you?
No. I got an updated passport. There's no tears in it like Becky Lynch's that she was trying to get to India today. She had like a slight tear and they were like, you can't get on the plane. So sad. Madness.
All right. And Kate, I don't know if you said it. Where I know where you're going to be. You just ran that down, but if you put it on your socials, where can people find you?
At Miss Kate Fabe on Twitter and TikTok, and Katestagrams on Instagrams.
Boom. So follow, and Kate sometimes puts her schedule up so you can find her easily.
There you go.
Agent Joe, plug something.
Well, other than being here on Wednesday nights on the Mark Order podcast, you can find me just on the socials at _Asian Joe. And if you usually look in my bio, I have a link to a serial review blog I do as a spare hobby because I need more things to do apparently. So if you're ever curious about weird cereal, it's all right there.
Boom. Go support Joe and his cereal blog. Maybe if you know any weird cereals, you can suggest them to Joe. What do you think?
Please do.
Do it.
Get at me.
Any ones coming up soon that people should keep an eye out for, Joe?
I still have Nesquik cereal, so I imagine it's going to taste like a box of cocoa.
Ooh.
Spoiler alert.
Forward to that. Looking forward to it. As for me, you can follow me on X at AntMoney. I like saying X now because it sounds like a pornographic site. So like somebody sent me a link before. I think it was you, Kate. It took me a second to realize what it was because it was like x.com and I was like, whoa. And I was like, oh, this is what you see.
Constantly sending people porn, so very confusing.
It's jarring though to see any X show up in a in the www.whatever.com, anytime you see an X, you're like, ooh.
It has to be 3 X's though.
Well, you never know these days.
Or isn't it? I genuinely don't know. X hamster, isn't that a thing?
I know there's
a naughty site?
I know there's like X tube or X videos. I don't know about
stick to the classics, people.
I don't know
Stick
about
to your
hamster.
Pornhubs.
I don't know about hamster.
Stay mainstream.
Porn.
Don't get
All right.
weird.
Anyway, follow me on X at AntMoney, Instagram AntMoney 24/7. And here every week on the Mark Order podcast.
Except when you're constantly on vacation.
You know, I don't like this fake news being spread. I really don't. It's a false flag operation is what I think. Follow the Mark Order podcast on our socials at Mark Order Pod, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Find us on YouTube. And thanks to everybody who watched and chatted along tonight. 1LT Photo, Jesse Ozog, Danny Huckins. I'm scrolling up.
He's a new one. Danny's a new one.
Is new. Pieces. 1LT Photo, I think I said that. Sloanamite was hanging out for a little bit. Ryan Schlong.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Pedro. And anybody else who I forgot to mention because I can't scroll back that fast. Thank you for tuning in and chatting along. We love it when we have you guys in the chat. If you're listening on podcast form, we love you guys too. Thank you for listening. If you've never tried watching us, head over to the YouTube. And for anybody out there, if you could take a few minutes to support us for free, give us a subscribe on our YouTube, subscribe on the podcast platforms, rate, like, review, share, whatever. That stuff helps us out greatly. You guys might not think it does, but it matters a ton. The reviews and the likes and the rates and the subscribes. So help us out and do that. And if you have the means to support us financially, you can head over to our Pro Wrestling Tee store. In our link tree in our bios on all our socials, you can find a link directly to the store, or you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/MarkOrderPod, or just search the Mark Order Podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees, and we'll pop right up, and you can find all of our shirts, and you can get a shirt. We sink that money right back into this show, the things that we need to pay for, like our streaming platform and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, as Kate said, if you don't support women, if you don't order a shirt, you don't support women. Excuse me. I almost messed that up big time.
And I just want to clarify too, like, it's not like the proceeds are going to women's charity or women's causes or anything like that. It's just that I'm a woman. I'm on this podcast. And if you don't buy a t-shirt in support of this podcast, you don't support women. I just want to be extremely clear. We're keeping all of the money. It's not going toward any sort of women's cause. You just don't support women if you don't buy a t-shirt for our show.
But maybe one day, Kate, you never know. Maybe one day we have a windfall. I would love to give to a women's charity.
Sure. But right now,
it's
not the case. We're keeping all of the money, but you don't support women if you don't buy t-shirts because you're not supporting me, i.e. a woman.
I need to bandwagon off your gimmick and be like, you can also support women and Asians or Asian women.
Hop on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Comfy ride.
Listen, we just need to pay for the things we need to pay for to keep this train on the tracks. We are by no means making money off of this production.
We are podcast fat cats. Don't listen to Ant.
Shh, quiet. I'm an everyman. You know what I'm saying? I'm just one of the guys. I'm just like you. You know what I mean? I'm not AntMoney. I'm just one of the regular plebes out there, you know?
One of the poor, says MJF would say.
That's right. I am better than everybody and I know it, but they don't yet.
All right, wrap up the show.
Tune in next week. We're going to be back here talking about Dynamite. Next week is the go home to Grand Slam. So tune in next week. Hopefully Ryan's internet is working and he decides to pay his bills. And we'll all be here before Kate and I whisk away to New York City for the Grand Slam. But until then, enjoy all of your wrestling, and we'll be back on Wednesday night here on the Mark Order Podcast.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.